So the 2022 International GTOpen season begins at Estoril, this 4.182 kilometre, 2.6 mile circuit with 13 turns in total. 70-minute race with the 14 minutes in the middle being the pit lane window. Of course, driver changes mandatory in International GTOpen. A good mix of established pros, fabulous gentlemen drivers, and pretty much any talent you could think of in between. It's a good packed grid of GT racing cars, as you see some of them just starting to roll out already as they get ready to form up on the grid ahead of this 70-minute race. That's the Team GT Mercedes heading out there. The Mercedes looked strong ahead of going racing. However, the strongest car of all was this one, the Ferrari 488 GT3 Evo. David Fuminelli really picking up where Ferrari left off last time. It was a Ferrari on pole when we were last here in 2018, George Morgan, but here in 2022 the cars are faster, but it's still a prancing horse on the front of the grid.
It certainly is, and hello everybody at home as well. What a wonderful occasion to be back here for the International GTOpen, this time of 2022, and you're quite right, back in 2018 was last time we raced here. Of course, Alessandro Perguidi and also Mikkel Mack picking up the wins on both days, in fact, day one and day two. Could we see another one of those events this weekend? We'll have to wait and see, but there is the Mercedes, that's Moritz Krantz in the Mercedes AMG GT as well, making his way around the next right-hander. Of course, he'll be looking for a big day today as well. And I'm sure many of them will have big points on their mind here today. But no question as to who was on pole. David Fuminelli, what a performance, Adam.
It really was a stellar showing from David Fuminelli in qualifying, some 4/10 clear of Joe Osborne, who was set to start alongside him. I got there eventually. Fuminelli really did show his cards in quali. Now, of course, qualifying pace is one thing, race pace is quite another, but we expect Fuminelli to be right up at the sharp end at the beginning, and we also expect this man, Yannick Mettler, to be up there too in the SPS Automotive Performance Mercedes AMG GT3, and another AMG GT3 from FIBA Motorsport. And at the wheel of that car at the moment is Rima Jafali. She will take the start, the young Saudi Arabian female racer. She teaming with Adam Christodoulou, a very strong pairing in the Pro-Am category. We'll be keeping our eyes on them. Moritz Krantz then pulls up to his grid slot. I actually got the opportunity to speak to Moritz in the paddock, and he was a bit mixed, I'd say. Mixed feelings going into this one. He said that he wasn't sure what direction to go in with the balance of the car. They made quite a small tweak during the qualifying session between the two runs in qualifying, and that actually gained him 0.8 of a second. So clearly they went in the right direction, but if you keep going in that direction, it can sometimes become detrimental. So I don't know quite what they've done between qualifying and the race, but he's going to be hoping against hope that it allows him an opportunity to not just go for Pro-Am honours, but potentially also an overall win.
Yeah, I mean, fine margins, Adam. I mean, when you adjust the cars, obviously you can find any little bit of time possible. I mean, that's the whole job. That's the point of practice. That's why we also have qualifying, and it gives the drivers a chance to understand the mechanics of the car and how they're best suited to the track. But certainly we can imagine that the likes of GetSpeed, Team Oregon, I think are obviously intent on maybe trying to bring something back to the top end too. And they've got a very relentless pair of pairings really. Two pro class cars out on track, but we'll certainly look forward to seeing how they get on. Certainly Leonardo Polcini was one of the ones to watch. He'll be partnering Benji Hites in the car, as well as the other one, which is Kevin Ghilardoni and Glenn Van Berlo taking the stand for the Oregon team. So it's going to be a fascinating affair. Obviously, the big question is, can David Fuminelli continue his great form from qualifying, or will it be none other than the Optimum Motorsport, Nick Moss and Joe Osborne? Because Joe Osborne was well up there too. There was a big ping-pong table affair between the Optimum Motorsport team and the Kessel Racing squad at the end of qualifying. It was a fascinating watch, but just on this occasion, Kessel Racing got it just over the line.
Yes, it's going to be a different grid each race this season, I suspect. in GT3 racing in general, you kind of get this mix of results in qualifying, of course, especially with the Pro-Am pairings and the Am pairings. There's sometimes a bit of a gulf in lap time between the two drivers, and that can create some interesting results. Here is the 72 car. The McLaren 720S GT3 cuts an imposing figure as it trundles down to its grid slot alongside Moritz Kranz in the number 9 car. And there you see the view from the Lamborghini Huracan GT3 of Benji Heat and Leonardo Polcini. Polcini taking the start, and he was looking to be on the raggedy edge in qualifying. Whenever he was on a fast lap, it looked like he was having to fight the car quite a lot. And then on a couple of occasions, we saw the car fight back and almost win on a couple of occasions. Yeah, it got a little bit, I say it again, harum-scarum. Turn 6 is certainly where we saw many of them losing. I think some getting a bit tail-happy around that point. Obviously, we did speak to a few there, well, just as we say, David Fuminelli there in our camera shot, but we did speak to a couple of the drivers earlier on as well. We are expecting maybe the wind to return potentially, so we'll have to keep our eyes peeled for that, but that could have such a severe effect on the track today. You see there that Yannick Mettler is listed in 2nd place. I believe there was a lap time deletion to Joe Osborne, hence he's in 4th position now. Some discussions ongoing there between Adam Christodoulou and Janine Schaffner. Schaffner, who of course will take over this car from Moritz Kranz. Schaffner coming in with an AM championship to her name in the NLS series, the Nürburgring-based endurance category, and she's very much looking forward to moving up to GTOpen this year. She's been savouring the challenge of a full season of international GT competition. There's confirmation of Joe Osborne down in 4th position. He's the first of the Pro Class runners on the grid, and alongside another Pro car, Leonardo Polcini. He will be dead focused. He really needs to get himself into the zone. I noticed even during testing in Barcelona, he's just got this icy stare when he's about to get behind the wheel of a race car. There's Martin Conrad, alongside him Alexander Krakowina, who I believe has actually not stolen, but borrowed a race suit from Bernd Schneider this weekend, the team boss at Landgraf. Jamie Stanley, the first of our AM drivers, and it is quite a second of our AM drivers, sorry, of course, the first being Martin Conrad, but the AM class in general is looking very interesting, George. You've got the likes of Charles Holland, who starts 10th overall, then you've got Martin Conrad and Jamie Stanley 6th and 7th, who are also AMs, and for an AM class, we do have some very quick drivers registered to that particular category. Yeah, it certainly is a very stacked level of performers in the AM category, which is going to be fascinating to see how they contend against those in the Pro-Am and the Pros as well. We've got a very, very good mix, I would say, so it's going to give us, I think, some thrilling racing, and I think that's exactly what we need at this point. There's some movement going on here. Is that Charlie Hollings? No, that's not Charlie Hollings. Oh, it is Charlie Hollings. He's being moved up on the grid order. What's the reasoning behind that, do you think? Oh, I hesitate to say, but Steve Jans was actually meant to be behind him, so I think it's actually just a matter of one car pulling up to the wrong place. So Charlie Hollings was meant to start 10th, Steve Jans at 11th, and I think someone's just cottoned on and said, guys, sorry, but can you just, maybe shift about a bit? And they've managed to do it, and Charles Hollings, who of course will hand over to Omar Jackson come race time, and Charlie, a key part in getting Omar ready for GTOpen. He's been his driver coach all throughout Omar's stint in Ferrari Challenge, and a lot of these pro drivers that take the AM under their wing as a coach, they get so invested in a driver's progress. Yeah, absolutely. We're just seeing there as well on our pictures. You can see the cars up on the jacks. That will be a constant feature midway through the race, of course, when the driver changes do happen. And we did see some practicing going on with Thiba Motorsport going on between Rima Jafali as well and Adam Christodoulou. They were both trying to work their way to pulling off some really pacey pit stops. Of course, you do have a minimum time gap that you've got to spend in the pit lane, but of course, always intent on trying to make sure that the quick changeovers
changeovers do happen, so there's no delays.
You gave them some flattering analysis in the pit box as well. You compared them to a certain energy drink backed Formula One team. Such was the potency of their pit stops. There is Steve Jans, now in the 11th spot, as he should have been all along, but he will be starting from 11th place. Just behind, you saw there the Audi that's been drafted in. Marcin Jedlinski starting the 777 Audi. It was originally meant to be a Ferrari. As you see there, the debrief going on between Adam Christodoulou and Remo Jafali before Remo takes the start. Here is the Audi we were discussing. That car has been drafted in, the Ferrari seemingly not quite ready to go, coming out of the pre-free practice testing on Thursday. So they've wheeled out the Audi, a car they're familiar with. I'm sure we'll see them doing great things, and that means another 5.2 litre V10 on the grid, and I know that that's always an approval with George Morgan.
Oh, it certainly is, and great to see another manufacturer as well on the grid too. Of course, we've only got one McLaren, we've got one Audi now as well, but there you can see, oh, look, all smiles here at Get Speed. Brilliant.
That's Adam Osaka, the boss at Get Speed, who's sharing with his good friend Kiki Saknana, the Thai drifting legend. Look at him, he's shutting the eyes. He's got himself, he's getting himself into the zone to go racing, and he was optimistic, not delighted, but certainly optimistic coming out of qualifying. Roman Zemian in another of the Kessel cars, and I believe that is Axel Jeffries alongside him. Getting ready to go racing. And here is the doctor. No, not that one. Stephen Earle, the Kessel racing driver. He will be sharing with Erwin Zanotti in the AM class. Erwin, some I think 50 years his senior. Stephen Earle has been racing for a long, long time. And then at the back of the order, Stanislav Jedlinski. His Ferrari is in good song, and he will be out there from the back of the grid. Stephen Earle also getting some tuition on site from the South African racer David Perrell. So race one just a few moments away, and we're getting very excited for the start of this 70-minute race, an hour and 10 minutes of action around the Circuit Estoril, and plenty of time then for things to change, but for now, this is the order they will set off in. David Fumanelli on pole position alongside Yannick Mettler, Ferrari, and Mercedes on the front row of the grid. Then it's a Mercedes again, Moritz Kranz alongside Joe Osborne on row 2. Keep an eye on the McLaren. Joe had a lot of pace earlier on today. Leonardo Polcini starting 5th place, another pro entry, and he's alongside the AM of Martin Conrad. He put in a stellar lap in qualifying. Behind him, Jamie Stanley. Great to have AF Corsa back in the championship. And then Kevin Ghilardoni starting from 8th place, another of the Oregon team at Lamborghinis. The Pro-Am entry from Baron Rapant, Alex Franzanetti sharing with Giuseppe Cipriani, and Charles Hollings alongside in 10th place. Then it's Steve Jans. We saw that little position exchange on the grid. Remo Jafali in 12th place. And moving on to the 7th row of the grid, Marcin Jedlinski and Bernard Laber. They're in 13th and 14th position. Both grey and yellow cars, but very different in the bodywork department. Kiki Saknana and Roman Zemian in 15th and 16th places. And then rounding out our 18-car grid, Stephen Earle in the Ferrari from Kessel Racing, and then another Ferrari from Olymp Racing, Stanislav Jedlinski, starting from the tail of the order. The formation lap is about to roll, George, and, well, this could go any of many ways.
It certainly could. I mean, don't count anybody out at this stage. We've got a long way to go. 1 hour and 10 is what these drivers are going to have to commit to. And in this heat as well, here at Estoril, that is a really punishing, sequence to certainly be contending with. But my eyes are currently set on the likes of Joe Osborne there in currently 4th place as well. But don't forget the Oregon team. We've been looking at them all weekend. They have been very, very quick. Not forgetting as well the likes of Leonardo Polcini. And it's just going to be a great race. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, absolutely. We're all looking forward to it. And earlier on, of course, it was David Fumanelli who set the pace in our qualifying session. Let's listen to what he said immediately after.
It was fantastic feeling to be back in this paddock with GT Sport, where I started my racing career in Euro Formula Open. So it's great to be back here on pole. We had a very difficult beginning of the weekend because we had an unfortunate crash in the Thursday test, but the guys did an amazing job to repair the car. We were not sure until the end if it was repairable or not, but to be here with such a nice lap time in qualifying, also with a nice gap to the second place, it's a fantastic feeling. So I have to thank the guys for the amazing car they gave me today.
Well, to the point there from Fuminelli, the car did indeed have an accident on Thursday. It was front-end damage. As you can tell if you look at the car, it's got bare carbon fibre front bumper, whereas it was previously red. And, well, we've seen it many a time that if you go into a barrier frontwards, it can be fine margins as to whether you get the car repaired again. Beporo Motorsport, who were here in the paddock with us with another Mercedes, they unfortunately packed up and went home on Friday because their car had a bent chassis, couldn't take any further part in the meeting. And as David Fuminelli was alluding to there, it could have been the same story for Kessel. They got away lucky. They've rebuilt the car, and they've rebuilt it very well indeed, George, because there it is at the front of the order.
Yeah, and I've got to say, they must be delighted with how they managed to pull it off, despite the challenges set back from Thursday. But nevertheless, when you start on pole, that gives you a huge bout of confidence. Yannick Mettler, though, in behind, you've got Moritz Krantz, don't forgetting Joe Osborne as well. There's so many contenders. I really can't take my eyes off Leonardo Polcini as well in 5th place. I just know there's more pace to be found in that Oregon car too. So we're going to be in for a great race. I'm also looking at the likes of Martin Conrad. That mean yellow livery looks very striking indeed. Jamie Stanley, of course, in the AM category today, looks very formidable as well. Plenty. I think we're going to see some really interesting battles across all 3 categories right now. It's going to be absolutely tremendous.
Tremendous is definitely the word. They're in 2x2 formation, and we are about to go racing for 70 minutes. It's going to be David Fuminelli that leads them away. Yannick Mettler will be challenging alongside him as we get started with a rolling start. These GT3 cars at the peak of their performance. This is the fastest GT3 series you will find in the world. And we're about to unleash about 12,000 brake horsepower. The red lights are being held, and we're going to go. It's already Fuminelli taking a bit of a running start. He leads then as they head towards the first corner. On the attack is Moritz Krantz up the inside of Joe Osborne. I thought for a minute he had a run on Yannick Mettler, but Mettler holds on to second, or does he? Because there goes Joe Osborne, immediately back up to second place. Polcini, I think that is, trying to go around the outside for third at turn 2, and he's done so. So it's all shake and shuffle through the order. They're still side by side for third as they go through turn 3, but Polcini has got it done. Krantz is now trying to find a way around Mettler, George, and it's all change already at the sharp end of the order in the early stages of this race.
It certainly is. David Fuminelli knew exactly what he was doing at the start, really took advantage, led on the way, but look at this. Oh, dearie me! Oh, and that's Il Baroni Rampante. Oh, big crash! Big crash! Oh, dearie me, debris across the circuit. I'm just looking, that's a Team Olymp Ferrari on the right-hand side. It looks to be an SPS performance. Stanislav Jelinski, Stephen Earle, Kiki Sagnana as well, all of them off the track. What can we say about that, Adam? That was a shocker.
Yeah, so it was Jedlinski and Stephen Earle, the 2 Ferraris that arrived to that one late, and it was the 911 Get Speed Performance Mercedes of Steve Yams that triggered that one. Just put the power down too early at Curva VIP and collected the number 8 of Alex Francinetti in the process. 4 cars wounded, red flag out, no surprise, because heavy contact, carbon fibre all over the circuit, and the medical personnel will check in on the drivers. Steve Yams has actually gotten back underway. The Mercedes has left the scene of the incident, and there is Stanislav Jedlinski, who did leave the scene of the incident. It doesn't look like the Olymp Ferrari is going much further. Joe Osborne with a brilliant start, but unfortunately the start was short-lived. You see there Francinetti out of the car. Good to see that he's up and away under his own power, and Stephen Earle is also. So that's good to see that Stephen is okay. Walks away from the car a little gingerly, but he should be fine, and hopefully we'll see him back out tomorrow. But that said, that was heavy impact to the front end of that Ferrari, and even if the driver is happy, the car may not be able to be repaired on site here at Estoril.
Yeah, absolutely. There's some forlorn faces. You can see there from the drivers involved in the crash. It certainly was very out of the blue. I mean, I'm not sure quite what happened, but the red flag certainly out at this point. And that means, obviously, that all the drivers have to come through. Here's the replay from the start. As you can see, Davide Fuminelli, no questions about his getaway. He got away extremely well. But what about Joe Osborne, who immediately pounced in towards turn one, took the outside line, and immediately struck ahead there. Of course, you had Yannick Mettler in the mix too. Leonardo Polcini, and there's the incident. The Il Baroni Rampante car. There you can see the SPS performance car as well. Oh, dearie me, a limb. Absolutely tragic there.
It was a Get Speed Mercedes that triggered that one, the 911 of Steve Jans, the Get Speed Pro car that just seemed to have a snap of oversteer. Frasinetti had nowhere to go, and unfortunately Stephen Earle found a slow-moving Lamborghini in the middle of the circuit, and you see there the reaction from teams that weren't even involved in the collision. Everyone just concerned that the drivers were okay, and they were. At the end of the day, it's a tight-knit community here in the GT Sport organisation paddock, both GTOpen and Euro Formula Open. And the first priority was, of course, seeing that everyone was okay. Kiki Saknana carrying some damage there. We saw the 786 AM car, so he was involved in that to a lesser degree also. And there, of course, is the Stanislav Jedlinski number 5 Ferrari being recovered from the outside of the Parabolica interior. He limped on for a couple of corners, but unfortunately that Ferrari also in less than stellar condition now.
Yeah, he did try to get it around, but I just felt that maybe it was too much of an ask for the limp Ferrari, unfortunately, and it's now being towed back to the garage, but no question there. Red flag out at this point. You see the safety car just at the front of the pit lane as the drivers now hop out, and they'll look to get, I'm sure, some repair works underway. I mean, never nice to see incidents like that happen, but obviously this is why we have red flags for a purpose. Obviously, they're serving their purpose right now, just so they can clear the track of all the debris, and then hopefully we'll be able to get racing once again here at Estoril. But amazing start, though, for the likes of Joe Osborne, diving in towards turn one. Certainly got the advantage, and we've seen him. He's been so quick and very predatory on the track. He's been absolutely superb. What about Leonardo Polcini as well, as we now take a look at the incident again? Oh, look at that.
And the key thing there as well is it's not just carbon fibre that's going to have to be swept up, but the Lamborghini went hard into the Armco and did slightly dislodge one of the posts. So there's going to have to be some barrier repairs as well, in addition to making sure that all of that carbon fibre and fluid is dealt with. So this could be a lengthy delay here. The marshals and the safety teams here at Estoril will be working at maximum capacity now to make sure we can get back underway and racing in short order. And everyone in the paddock, everyone in the driving seats, as much as they'll be very toasty in these stationary GT3 cars at the moment, they'll be understanding that this one, it needs to be dealt with to the maximum of the abilities of everyone here at the circuit before we go racing again.
Yeah, certainly everyone, I think, is safety conscious, no matter if they want to get back racing again. There's obviously bigger things afoot. There you can see the Optimum Motorsport McLaren car, of course, being donned by that of Joe Osborne, partnering Nick Moss here today, just looking content in the car. A little wave to the camera as well from Joe, and he looks okay. I'm sure he's delighted with the way he started the race, without any question. And very nice looking helmet indeed as well. Some nice colours, a palm tree there as well. Very fitting given the conditions here today, Adam.
I was going to make a comment on the helmet as well. It's very kind of looks like something out of some motion graphics from a late 80s American.
CSI Miami?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, something along those lines. Certainly Joe Osborne will be delighted with how his race has started. Some debrief going on here at the Olymp Audi. That's, I believe that is Bash, talking to Jedlinski, Marcin Jedlinski. Of course, Stanislav Jedlinski, father of Marcin, has unfortunately already retired from this race. It was the number 5 Olymp Ferrari that we saw parked on the outside of turn 6. Here's Leonardo Polcini. He also profited off the start, didn't he, there from 3rd position. It was a solid start from the Oregon team, not just in the race, not just in the GT Open Championship, but also in GT3 competition. This is a new venture for the highly experienced and decorated Oregon team to run a GT3 car. And when you consider just how much they have done in categories such as the Renault Megane Euro Cup and the Renault Sport Trophy that followed that, it's rather amazing that they haven't taken a swing at GT3 prior to today, but here we are.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Well, no better place to start than today, to say the least, but I'm sure we'll see how they perform. We will get underway very, very soon, folks. But there you can see talk still going on in the garage. And there's number 54 car, as we're taking a look at it now. That, I believe, is being dealt with by Yannick Meckler, who he himself started certainly at the top end of the order. They were certainly fighting in towards turn one, but just couldn't quite fend off Joe Osborne at the very start. There's Moritz Kranz's car, the view from inside. Always interesting to get a driver's perspective view, looking through the front windscreen, as we now watch the cranes hard at work, just trying to clear up some of the debris that is left on the track. The rescue car as well in the midst, and everyone hard at work, making sure that we can go racing again. But still a stricken Il Baroni Rampante car there, indeed, Adam. So they've still got a bit of work to do.
Yeah, and the Kessel Racing Ferrari too. A couple of cars that aren't going to go anywhere quickly without, I think, probably a bit of a crane job, unfortunately. And the more I look at the front end of that Kessel Racing, the Ferrari, the less I suspect that it's gotten away without some significant damage. We'll have to see. I'm sure there's going to be a significant debrief and a significant attempt from Kessel to get the car back out there, should Stephen Earle and Owen Zanotti be willing to go racing again at Maro. Stephen, we saw him walk away from the accident, but of course walking away and getting in the car the next day are two very different things. So I'm sure it will be at Stephen Earle's discretion if the car is ready to go tomorrow. Wheeled back into the garage, indeed, is the 911 car of Steve Jans. He was, of course, one of the parties involved with that impact. It was the 911 car, at least from the camera angles we've seen, that triggered that one, really. Just got loose coming out to curve a VIP and was sent for a spin. And unfortunately, Alex Franzanetti got tagged in that as well, and we saw it unfold from there. Great to have Get Speed with us, really, in this GT Open season in 2022. They have been in the paddock before. Janine Schaffner actually had some brilliant Pro-Am results with a Get Speed run car here in GT Open a few years ago. You see, among others, down there, race director Neo Santa Maria checking in on the progress down here at turn 4 and turn 5. They'll be making sure that everything has been dealt with to the highest of standards before we go racing again. And there is the Man Filter Team Landgraf car we just took a look at there. That's an iconic livery, the Mamba, seen at GT3 races across the world, and great to have them with us in GT Open. And there's Chris Dudulu having a chat with Rima Jafali, and Christo, a winner in the N24 back in 2016. And oh, well, there's a sight, isn't it? The stricken Il Baron Rapante Huracan, and now we see the true extent of the damage to the rear of the car. It went in hard into the Armco, didn't it, George? And no surprise that a significant portion of the car is been ripped away there.
Testament to the safety, I think, of the steel barriers, obviously serving their purpose here at the circuit of Estoril. But nevertheless, there's the AF Corsa amateur class here. Of course, that being driven with the likes of Jamie Stanley for the initial stint. He'll be swapping over with Laurent Demeos as well later on. And certainly you can see there a little wink there. Obviously, given the heat, things must be getting pretty warm in the cars at the moment, Adam, given the way the sun has been beating down upon us over this weekend. Certainly did feel a lot warmer today, aside from where we had it on Thursday and Friday. So definitely the driver's going to have to be dealing with an upturn in temperature at this moment in time. But certainly there you can see the brush is still hard at work and trying to clear up the rest of that debris. But you can see there the car just in the background. There's the Diva Motorsport Mercedes as well. Rima Jafali out of the car, and we saw her earlier on conversing with Anna and Christian Dolu. And they themselves looking for a positive weekend. Very confident that they've got the setup right. As, we now see the conversation happening between the Olymp racing team as well. So very active in the pit lane as things stand.
Of course, we alluded to it earlier on that this circuit has been a Ferrari stronghold for the last couple of years at least that we've been here at Estoril. Last time we were here in 2018, Mikkel Mack and Alessandro Pierguidi had a mighty weekend racing under the Lusic Racing banner for AF Corsa. And so much fabulous GT racing has happened here over the years at Estoril, as we now get another replay of that incident, and you see that the Il Barone Rampante car ending up into the barriers. I feel sorry for Giuseppe Cipriani. He's a double AM champion here in GTOpen and moves up to Pro Am. Had high hopes, and rightfully so, but unfortunately not the start to his season that he'd have liked. And again, touch and go as to whether that car's going to be okay for race 2.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a big shame, to say the least, but all smiles there for Rima Jafali. She's looking okay, and just having a chat as well. And also a limp, who are now down to one solitary car for this race. Now, obviously, we saw the Ferrari, unfortunately, involved in that incident with Stanislav Jedlinski, but we do have the Audi R8 LMS GT3 as well, so plenty of opportunities still on the table here for Olymp Racing. But like we say, it's all a case now of just waiting and riding the storm, as we still are under red flag conditions. But there you can see, the spectators looking happy nonetheless. They've come here for a weekend of good racing fun, good weather conditions. They've been treated to all of it.
Absolutely, and to your point on the Jedlinski Audi, that's up to the latest Audi R8 LMS Evo 2 specification, with the most obvious change being the curved rear wing on the back of that car. Previously was a little less a little more straight, the rear wing on the back of that car. That's the most obvious way to tell the two specifications apart. That's new for 2022, and as such, the balance of performance and so on ever evolving to keep up with the developments of the cars. And here in the International GTOpen series, we do run with some of the fastest BOPs you'll find anywhere in the world in GT3 competition. As such, these cars are more often than not faster than you'll see them in any other championship, not just because of the BOP, but also because of the fabulous Michelin rubber. When I was there at pre-season testing back in March, one of the first things that Stephen Earle said to me was, "The Michelin rubber, love it." And even the American said Michelin as well, which validated me in my quest to go with the French pronunciation on any broadcast I see fit. We saw Kiki Saknana's car there in a bit of a state in the garage. Get Speed Performance have two of their cars in the garages at the moment, the other being Steve Yan's, the Pro entry, the 911 car. But Kiki Saknana, we saw had some, well, maybe not purely cosmetic, but some damage to the front right of that car, and it looks like they're having to work away hard to make sure he's got an immaculate Mercedes AMG GT3 Evo come at the start of this race. Yeah,
they're going to need it all fit and healthy, ready to tackle the track again, as still hard at work. You can see them all just scrubbing away just to try and get everything off the track. But going back to your point about the Michelin tyres, indeed, obviously, given the fact that we've witnessed advancements in performance, and as you say, fastest BOP, let's bring out the fact that obviously the last time we were here at Estoril back in 2018, and we had qualifying, the fastest lap for Q1 was, of course, set by Mikkel Mack at the time, partnering Alessandro Pierguidi, and it was actually 2 seconds below the fastest time we had this time. So you can see, just tell the advancements that have been put in place with Michelin tyres, and therefore it's proven that it's coming into fruition.
Yeah, David Fulminelli 2 seconds quicker than Mack was back in 2018. The fastest ever race lap in GT3 competition was also here in 2018. That was Pierguidi with the fastest race lap from 2018, a 1:38.863. And well, given we were seeing 34s in qualifying, I suspect that one will go. Another slightly more way off and distant GT lap record, the old GT1 cars, or the GT class as it was called in the FIA GT Championship. They were last here way back in 2003, so almost 20 years ago. Fastest lap from those cars, a 1:37.708 for Fabrizio Gollin in a BMS Scuderia Italia Ferrari 550. And if you think back to that GT1 class and how amazing and quick and potent we thought they were at the time, the fact that GT3 cars are knocking on the door of GT1 performance and more than likely before the end of this weekend going to supersede the fastest ever race lap around here in a GT1 car, that really is quite something.
Yeah, we've come a long way, I think, in 15 to 20 years, Adam. It has to be said. It's fascinating to see how technology has advanced motorsport. We see it time and time and again. I mean, at the end of the day, it's all about performance when it comes to these cars, and that's exactly what a lot of these drivers are in the sport for. They enjoy the racing and enjoy the battles and enjoy the speed as well. It's just something you seldom see anywhere else. But great to witness it here on track. But as we now watch what has to be a very solemn sight of car number 11, Stephen Earle's car, just being planted on the back of the lorry, being held by a crane of such. So I've got to say, give credit to all the marshals and those hard at work putting together this track, putting it back into racing order. They certainly are our heroes this afternoon.
Speaking of the advancements in terms of technology and so on with GT cars in the last 20 or so years, actually, one of the drivers who would have been there back in 2003 is Jamie Campbell-Walter, who is supporting Oliver Goethe in the Euro Formula Open category. I actually had a chat with Jamie earlier on, and he was talking to me about the differences between GT3 and GT1. The GT3 car, he actually raced here in 2018. He did a one-off drive with SPS. No, it's not with SPS, sorry, DriveX Mercedes in 2018. And he was saying, you know, the difference was profound. Back in the day with the early iterations of the Lister Storm that he drove in that category, it was a sequential gearbox, and you'd need 90 kilos of force to actually pull the gear back, pull the stick back to shift up a gear. He said that got down to about 30 kilos by the time they'd finished developing the car around 2003 when he last raced here in a Lister. And now it's just a little flappy paddle. Moreover, those cars were very, very analog indeed. No ABS, any remnants of traction control, I don't think so either. These GT3 cars, though, are meant to be just as capable in the hands of an amateur driver as in the hands of a pro driver, and as such they have these incredibly well developed traction control systems, ABS systems. Doesn't mean they're easy cars to drive by any stretch of the imagination, but to continue on with the point you made, George, the advancements are really astounding when you look back at that 20-year or so gulf between that day in 2003 and now.
Yeah, I'd imagine. I think the one thing I take away from that is I will never want to contest him in an arm wrestling match.
No. Well, actually, a lot of the drivers, you say that, a lot of the drivers from the GT1 era have one ailment in common, and that's a gammy shoulder.
Oh, right.
Because those sequential gearboxes needed such heft that a lot of them really do complain of shoulder issues. And in fact, Peter Cox, notably, he says, you know, I loved that. I loved racing the Lamborghinis from Reiter Engineering in the GT1 era. However, every morning I wake up and I'm reminded of the negatives too, when I wake up on my bad shoulder and go, oh.
So what you're saying is I should challenge them the day after they race?
Maybe, yes, or indeed just rely on the fact that they picked the wrong shoulder and they're in a bit of pain. I actually think there's something in that. George Morgan versus racing drivers, an arm wrestling series. I think we'll try and organise that. The flatbed is taking away the remnants of the Il Barone Rampante Lamborghini and the number 11 Kessel Racing Ferrari, Frassinetti and Stephen Earle's cars. Just being taken back now. Hopefully, it won't be too long before we get back to green flag conditions. And well, yes, it's been a notable, it's been a hefty delay. I grant you that, but we shall be back racing in the not too distant future. I'm sure there's still some carbon fibre shards down there that they have to sweep up, and I do love the stance on that recovery truck, actually. I also rather enjoyed, I don't know if you noticed, George, when they were actually winching the Lamborghini on, the suspension travel on the Renault that they've got it on the back of now. It was rather leaning and it looked a little bit comical.
Yeah, well, I'd imagine it's probably less than comical for them, but there you can see them rounding that left-hander. It's that turn 6 again. That is turn 4, sorry, that's cropped up for us, and heading into the gravel. Oh, just that sheer impact, and you know, at the end of the day, you haven't got a chance. If the car's being thrown out, you're just a sitting duck. You're almost an innocent bystander at that point, especially the speeds that they were going. So at the end of the day, not all the driver's fault. Mistakes are made. I'd imagine that it'll be analysed and scrutinised as they head into the garages.
It's an unenviable position, we got there. Stephen Earle found himself in there because he approached at full chat, and then suddenly the sea was parting in front of him. Everyone was swerving, and he wasn't really to know why, unfortunately, until it was far too late. And Stephen Earle then found Frasinetti in his path, and Alex Frasinetti in the Lamborghini, as we saw, is also out of this race. And we are now seeing the safety car displayed on our timing screen rather than the red flag. So we'll have to see whether that's an indicator that, well, no, it still says red flag as well, but there's also the notification of safety car. It's also saying that the clock will restart when cars exit the pit lane. So it does look like we're very much in the stage of preparation for a race getting back underway. So we'll cross our fingers and hope that that happens in the not too distant future. It looks as though they're putting a lot of water down there at turn 5, which is usually quite an innocuous kink on what would otherwise be a back straight. It might become a point of hazard, let's say, when we go back to racing.
Yeah, it could well do, and that's a very, very good point. You know, obviously, well, it'll dry up eventually, but how quickly? I mean, obviously, if the cars then tackle turn 4 and then head through and make that rise, you know, if they can lose any of the traction due to the wet weather, it can land you in serious trouble, especially given the tyres may not be suitable for wet conditions, obviously. But yeah, there you can see the Il Baroni Rampante car making its way through the Lamborghini Huracan GT3, and it's a solemn sight. Never like to see cars leaving the garage, to say the least, and I'm sure Stanislav Jedlinski, Stephen Earle, Alex Frasinetti are going to be disappointed with how the afternoon has turned out for them. Here we go, we take a look at the incident in question, and yeah, just an immediate spin there from the Mercedes AMG. There's the Il Baroni Rampante Lamborghini on, and the contact then with Stephen Earle as well. It certainly wasn't a pretty picture, with then Stanislav Jedlinski coming to a grinding halt as well. I think that Olymp car actually picked up some debris on the front right-hand tyre, which must have got wedged underneath and would have at least caused a... Oh, no, he hit something way before that. So there you go. That camera angle gave us a little bit of an insight there. But without a doubt, he probably would have had a puncture as well.
There are no secrets with our brilliant production team, unfortunately, for Stanislav Jedlinski. And yes, on that occasion, I mean, you see just how much carbon fibre was down there on the approach to turn 5. It's admirable that we are seemingly almost at the stage of having a clear track. Yes, well done, guys.
Get the hair dryers out.
I thought they were saying hello to us, actually. It looks like they're gesturing quite wildly to say, hey, we've got something to do over here yet. I thought they were just saying hello, but that's not the case. You see there, the blow dry being put to good use now to try and get the circuit as dry as possible, and returning to the Kessel Racing garage in a rather unsightly state is, unfortunately, the number 11 Ferrari of Stephen Earle. And yeah, the front end of that car tells a story, doesn't it? And it's not one of resale value, at least in its current condition.
Not at all, not at all. No, not the way Ferrari would have wanted it for sure. But there you can see the blow dryers out, trying to dry the circuit, which is great. So we should be able to get a drier circuit than what we could have had.
And one thing that's just been put onto the timing screen as well here in our commentary box, cars will be ordered according with the classification after Sector 1. Now that's good news for Joe Osborne, because that means that the start he got at the beginning of this race hasn't been wiped from the record. Often when you have a red flag, the classification goes back a lap, and that will then stunt any any positive things that happen before the red flag. The resuming will be informed, showing the 10 minutes board, also says the timing screen. So again, we are well on the way to getting this race back underway. I also want to note to you as well, if you're joining us for the first ever time in the International GTOpen category, the classes, Pro, Pro-Am and Am, There is no mechanical or performance difference between the cars themselves. It's purely down to driver classification. So that's worth bearing in mind if you are new to the championship. The cars look the same, and that's because they are the same. There is no mechanical differentiation at play. And that means the likes of Martin Conrad, who had an absolutely fabulous qualifying session to put the car 6th on the grid in an AM class entry, it gives an equal opportunity to get further up the order and really trouble some of the fastest GT drivers you could possibly find on their best days.
Yeah, definitely. And going back to what you were saying about the cars will be resuming in the order that they finished on when the red flag was brought out. Great for Leonardo Polcini as well, because he gained 2 places off the back of that start too. So no doubt we're going to be seeing Oregon at their full strength and putting pedal to the metal in this race too, with Joe Osborne in 2nd, trying to chase after David Fuminelli. I tell you what, we're going to be in for a really, really good restart, I think, at this stage. But the Pro-Am is on top, David Fuminelli, with then 2 pros of Joe Osborne and Leonardo Polcini in 3rd place, with Yannick Mettler showing up in 4th in the Pro-Am category, and Moritz Krantz in 5th as well, certainly for the Get Speed Performance team. Then you've got Kevin Gillardoni, that's the other Team Oregon car. He, of course, lining up alongside Glenn Van Berlo, and currently sat in 6th place too, and they themselves also looking for improvement. They started 8th on the grid, and they are now up 2 places as well, in tandem with the other car as well, Leonardo Polcini.
Well, so David Fuminelli, let's make the point about driver changes as well. The pit window begins at the 28-minute point of this race and will continue on until we're 42 minutes completed. So it's a 14-minute pit window, and one would expect that Fuminelli will push it right to the very end of that window. He is very much the pro of the Pro-Am lineup alongside Murat Cihadaroglu, the Turkish driver who actually has had quite a bit of success in his own right. Certainly not to disparage him or minimize his own achievements. He's the Italian GT Sprint AM champion, actually, funny enough, with Kessel Racing. The safety car will lead them out in about 10 minutes, and we understand at least 2 laps behind the safety car as well. That is, of course, to make sure that everyone is well aware of that new damp patch that has appeared at turn 5, among other things.
Give it a chance to dry up at this point.
True.
And, at the end of the day, we can't afford to have any more incidents. Ideally, we'd like to avoid another red flag, certainly at this state of play. But certainly, when the restart comes off, I mean, obviously, it's going to be an opportunity for the likes of Joe Osborne and Leonardo Polcini to make sure that the gap doesn't grow much higher. Of course, David Fuminelli got such a great start at the start of the race and actually did draw clear. I believe, actually, if you look at the timing sheets, I think it was 1.2 seconds at the end when the red flags were brought out. He did start to string it out, but Joe Osborne and Leonardo Polcini will certainly be cleverer, I think, on this occasion when the restart occurs. And of course, you've got Yannick Mettler, Moritz Krantz in the mix too. But the likes of Rima Javali doing well too in 9th place. And they'll be making the swaps soon as well, because they've got Christian Dolu jumping in the car as well when her term is finished. But you've got many others that are very, very talented. Looking forward to seeing what Kiki Saknana can do as well, because he was, after we spoke to him yesterday after qualifying, he was just so excited to get into the car, and he's such a great character, Adam.
He's perpetually smiling. He did have a bit of a smash in pre-season testing, and he was rather withdrawn for a bit after that, but he bounced back admirably, and he actually documented it really well on his Instagram as well, if you're interested in following him. He is a great character, as you say, and he is the life of the party at Get Speed, along with Janine Schaffner. It's certainly a paddock, a garage of strong personalities, actually, at Get Speed. The likes of Janine and Moritz, and Kiki as well, Adam Osaka, Kiki Saknana's teammate, who is, of course, the one running the show, the puppeteer, the team boss, the CEO at Get Speed. Get Speed, among other things, operate a ring taxi service over at the Nürburgring Nordschleife, and I believe their mantra is that come what may, they are getting around the circuit in under 8 minutes with you in the passenger seat. So there's no such thing as a half-hearted taxi lap with Get Speed. I know that Moritz Kranz probably laps the Nürburgring more than I have hot dinners. Adam Osaka much the same. He's great around the Nürburgring. And yeah, it is an awesome crew down at Get Speed. And welcoming paddock all round. I mean, I've operated around the championship before, but never in the paddock. It's your first time here in the paddock too, George, and we've been very much welcomed with open arms.
I've got to say, everyone I've met has been so positive and so happy to see us, and it's been great. We've been happy to see them, of course,
yes.
And so very much received likewise. But no, amazing. I think going off the back what you were saying about the Get Speed performance team, I tell you what, if they're running a taxi service, who knows? Maybe we can get a lift back to the airport one day.
Well, I've been offered. I've actually been offered. Moritz Kranz has said to me, next time you work at the Nürburgring, and I am doing so before the end of the year, so my fingers are crossed. Next time you work at the Nürburgring, I'm taking you around the Nürburgring. I'm seeing how strong your stomach is. Okay, okay, Moritz. We'll see how that goes. I'll make sure I don't have breakfast that day. 5-minute board has been shown, so we're getting closer to the point of getting the cars back out on circuit, but it will be at least a couple of laps under safety car. Once the safety car leads the cars out on circuit, the race will resume, and that's going to be interesting. I think David Fuminelli is going to hope it's 2 and no more laps behind the safety car, because every time we go around this 4.182 kilometre Estoril circuit behind the safety car, he loses opportunity to build a gap and hand the 488 over to Murat Chadaroglu in a strong position.
Yeah, definitely, and that is the idea. Obviously, David Fuminelli showing extraordinary pace in qualifying, doing what he did, that clutch finale towards the end in the battle between him and Joe Osborne, which was absolutely tenacious and lovely to watch. Of course, me and Adam had a great time watching that one, as I'm sure many of you did at home as well, but obviously still a long way to go. Don't forget, Joe Osborne will be swapping out for Nick Moss when the driver changes occur, and then of course you've got Leonardo Polcini exchanging with Benji Hites as well. So, you know, there's going to be lots of chopping and changing. The strategy is going to be absolutely important. I think you're absolutely right, Adam. I think David Fuminelli is going to take it as long as possible, try a massive overcut, and then hopefully he can hold on to the position and give what could be a great opportunity to Murat Chadaroglu.
Well, often the form book only tells you so much. I could be wildly wrong, but I do suspect that, yes, Fuminelli will push it as long as he can. I think Joe Osborne will do the same. The likes of Leonardo Polcini, they may well split it more down the middle. Of course, Joe Osborne in that 72 Optimum Motorsport McLaren, that was a Pro-Am entry along with Nick Moss last year, and Nick gave the green light over the winter saying, yeah, you know what, I fancy giving these pro drivers a little bit of a run for their money. So they've been reclassified up to pro for this year, and they could well be contenders. I mean, it's a well-sorted car, the McLaren 720S GT3, the first McLaren GT3 car to be fully developed in-house, following on from the MP412C and 650S, and it is a very, very quick machine indeed, an Optimum Motorsport run with them all over the world. I know that they're also in Laguna Seca this weekend over in America, so very much a multinational operation ongoing there. But Moss and Osborne, they are going to be a force to be reckoned with across the season for not just the pro class, but also overall victories, I suspect.
Yeah, 100%. I think that McLaren did look superb, I have to say. I mean, if you look at the pedigree behind Joe Osborne, McLaren factory driver, for instance, I mean, you don't get that association for nothing. He is absolutely superb with what he's done. 4 wins in the International GTOpen Pro-Am category last season at Paul Ricard, Red Bull Ring, Monza and Catalonia. So he has the form card, certainly, in this championship. Who knows? I mean, if he can string together a good, certainly a good sequence of laps leading up towards the mid parts of this race, and when the driver change does happen, it will put Nick Moss in a very, very good position. Of course, Nick Moss himself coming 3rd in the Pro-Am standings in 2020 and 2021, and certainly one of the more successful drivers in the gentleman's game when it comes to this sport, and certainly the International GT Open known for good quality amateur drivers, certainly trying to give themselves a great opportunity to tackle these pros and the pro-ams as well. It's just altogether a fascinating contest, and I'm sure we'll see lots more of it as well. But very shortly, Adam, we'll be heading out again. The safety car will not be long. 3-minute board ahead of us, and he'll very soon be leaving the pit lane.
Yeah, circa 90 seconds until we get going. They're just getting the fire up signal from the marshals. The engines will roar once again, and it's quite the concerto of different noises, be it the 3.9-litre turbo V8 in the Ferrari, the 4-litre turbo V8 in the McLaren. It's a 6.2-litre naturally aspirated beast in the Mercedes AMG GT3, and then you've got sonorous 5.2-litre V10 motors in both the Lamborghini Huracan and our sole Audi R8 LMS GT3. That's one of both the challenges and the main selling points of GT3 competition. So many different cars, so many shapes, sizes and sounds on any GT3 grid around the world. With that comes a lot of pressure on the very, very smart people who put the BOPs together, but we always end up with a resplendent result. And as we've said a couple of times already, the GTOpen BOP is that little bit quicker. The race is officially back underway then as we get the cars rolling out of the pit lane. 68 minutes and 35 seconds on the clock then, and it's ticking down ever more. We know there's going to be at least 2 laps behind this safety car. That's been bulletined extensively, and well, we're not too far away from going racing again, and hopefully these drivers are thoroughly taking in what they see as they run, especially through the turn 4 and 5 section, where there's been a lot of sweeping and tidying.
Yeah, absolutely. Hopefully the debris has all been swept away. Very good job from the marshals getting that sorted for us. The safety car now out and round in the circuit. There you can see David Fuminelli leading the way, with Joe Osborne hot on his heels in behind him, Leonardo Polcini, Yannick Mettler, Moritz Kranz in 5th place with Martin Conrad in 6th, Kevin Gillardoni in 7th. And there's the Kessel Racing Garage, and certainly a very somber look in there, obviously with their car leaving. Of course, Stephen Earle representing that one, but I'm sure they can look ahead and hopefully the other cars perform in this race now.
Unfortunately, we are down 2 more. There were 3, of course, that were retired immediately after the accident down at turns 4 and 5, and both Kiki Saknana's 786 Get Speed car, the AM entry, and the Pro entry from Steve Jans, the 911, they have both not come out of the pit lane as yet. There is no reason they couldn't rejoin, at least by the rules. However, the cars seemingly not yet fit for competition, and that's a huge shame.
Yeah, it is a massive shame, and Kiki Saknana, I'm sure, will be very disappointed. He was so excited for his weekend, but now unfortunately the car effectively retired from the race, certainly stuck in the pits. Steve Jans as well, one of the members of the Get Speed Performance contingent of drivers representing the pro category. Obviously now it looks like they're going to be running with just the one, I think, at this point, or is it they have got the 2, I think, at this stage, certainly with the likes of the Get Speed Performance driven by Moritz Kranz, and that's in behind as well. Steve Jans' car was the one that's obviously been parked up and will not be featuring again in this race, so major shame for him.
Yes, they started with 3 and they're left with 1 at Get Speed Performance. Unfortunately, that 1 is Moritz Kranz, the number 9 car that we just see now with the Axiom Space decals, and just behind is Martin Conrad, another of the Mercedes AMGs, but that is fielded, of course, by SPS Performance. So, unfortunately, we've had quite the bite taken out of the grid for this one owing to that incident, and hopefully it's a rather more orderly first lap. I think that after what we've seen here in this first attempt at running the first lap, everyone's going to enter our race restart with a cooler head this time.
Yeah, definitely. We saw the Team GT car further back as well. Bernhard Laber in the seat, and we've got the safety car coming in this lap as well, folks. We've had the notification, so we will be back underway, bringing you the GTOpen action. Cameraman in full focus, watching everything unfold as they make their way through the section that was part of the incidents that we saw, and heading out of turn 5, leading down the descent towards turn 6, where they'll then meet the Parabolica interior. And you can see the Thieber Motorsport Team GT, as well as the Kessel Racing car right in behind as well. And what a special occasion this certainly is. The likes of Fuminelli will be looking to get away very, very quickly. And to say the least, it's going to be interesting to see whether they can get away and get the jump off the line and take advantage. Joe Osborne, Leonardo Polcini, Yannick Mettler, Kranz in 5th, with Conrad in 6th, Gilardoni, the other Oregon car as well. And it's going to be interesting to say the least.
Yes, it will. David Fuminelli is going to lead them away. We're going to have about 64 minutes on the clock when we do go racing, and that Pro-Am car will likely continue on as long as they can once the pit window comes out at the 28-minute point of this race, which is in about 22 minutes' time, incidentally. So the safety car is about to come in. David Fuminelli looks like he's going to take the hold 'em and wait approach to getting this race back underway, and he now stabs the throttle, or does he? No, yes he does. He's off. David Fuminelli leads them away as they run out of the Parabolica Ayrton Senna and across the line to restart this race. There you see, under threat from Kevin Giardoni, is Martin Conrad in the leading AM car from Team Landgraf, and up the inside there is the SPS Automotive car getting up to 4th place. In fact, defending 4th place from Moritz Kranz. It looks like there's some issues further back as well. That was Roman Zemian running wide in one of the other Kessel cars. Kessel in the wars here, seemingly. But he continues on his way, thankfully. And, well, look at this. Martin Conrad under threat as they run through Curva VIP. He's going to need to make that man filter car very wide.
He certainly is. Kevin Gilardoni trying to put the pressure on as they now make their way down through, out of turn 5 in towards turn 6. There you can see them now heading down. There's the Oregon car as well. Having a look on Joe Osborne there, Leonardo Polcini. There's the other Oregon car, all decorated, all in different colours, round in the next left as they do so. And there you can see Joe Osborne as well, stuck right in behind a Fuminelli, and is going to certainly give him a lot to think about, that's for sure. As you now see the Team Landgraf car still under the pressure from Kevin Gilardoni, and it's forcing him to pull off some defensive manoeuvres as now they make their way up round towards turn 10, up towards the Gancho corners, and as they do so, further back as well, Yannick Mettler in the fight. There's the Landgraf car, certainly trying to hold back the force of Kevin Gilardoni as they head out of turn 11, turn 13, around what will be the Parabolica Ayrton Senna. Joe Osborne now around that next right-hander too, with in behind him Leonardo Polcini looking to come in to join the fight too. In behind them is Yannick Mettler with Moritz Kranz in the stream too. There you can see further back as well Kevin Gilardoni, Jamie Stanley trying to gain back as well. He's around 4/10 away from him, but still no change at the top end. David Fuminelli still holding on to that advantage, a second gap to Joe Osborne.
So we have a pro interloper in the AM top 3 battle there. In 6th place is Martin Conrad, the first of the AM cars. Then it's Giardoni in the 19 car running 7th. That is a pro entry. And then it's a Ferrari battle. The AF Corsa number 55 of Jamie Stanley with Charlie Hollings behind him, 2nd and 3rd in the AM class. And then we have this pro-am car. That, of course, is Rima Jafali, and Rima doing a good job there of holding on to Charlie Hollings, who's himself a very decorated driver, has raced at Le Mans 24 Hours, in WEC, and won championships both in junior single-seaters and in GT cars. As look at this, Conrad really does look like he might be the cork in the bottle here, doesn't he? Because he's there in 6th place. He's losing the back of Moritz Kranz, and I think that's going to have to be a lot of elbows out if he wants to hold on to that 6th position. Giardoni, if he gets an opportunity, he's going to spring forth, he's going to capitalise, he can rest assured of that. And then, of course, if Conrad does lose out to Giardoni, suddenly it becomes a problem for the class lead, and he's going to want to hand over to Alexander Krakowina in the class lead.
Yeah, don't forget Jamie Stanley as well. You can see him there in 8th place, certainly representing the AM category. Conrad, very much as you say, the cork in the bottle, goes very wide, I think, around the Parabolica Ayrton Senna, and it's going to open up an opportunity, I believe, but potentially for Kevin Gilardoni. We know how quick They are in the straight, certainly, this Lamborghini Huracan GT3, as they make their way in towards turn 1, and just immediately putting the brakes on. There's the Leonardo Polcini making his way through. There's Jamie Stanley, who's under a little bit of pressure from Charles Hollings, who's now currently sitting in 9th spot himself. So there you see them now as they round the next right-hander. It's still Martin Conrad leading that contingent through, with Gilardoni hot on his tail, with Jamie Stanley as well in the mix. Charles Hollings lining up in behind him in 9th. And as you can see further up there, Moritz Kranz pretty much in no man's land. 1.5 seconds away from Yannick Mettler, but 2.2 seconds clear of what looks to be Martin Conrad.
Fastest lap of the race so far, Joe Osborne, Optimum Motorsport, the McLaren 720S GT3, a 1:37.248, and that has, as we alluded to prior to the race resuming, smashed both the GT3 and GT1 lap records around this circuit. There's some showing of the advancement of the tyres and the cars. Here comes Giardoni at T7, can't quite make a move there at Orella. They now head towards the Gancho chicane, and let's see how long Conrad can keep up this fight. Certainly, if you're Moritz Kranz there in 5th place, you're going to be hoping he does so as long as possible. Of course, yes, Kranz is a Pro-Am car, Conrad is an Am, and Giardoni is a Pro, but the overall positions very much matter to everyone in this series, and Kranz would love to hand over to Janine Schaffner with a strong position on the road.
Without a shadow of a doubt, as they make their way down the next straight, in behind, you can see Jamie Stanley starting to get closer to the back of the Team Oregon car of Kevin Gilardoni. Is it going to be enough, though, to get a move potentially to turn 1? No, I don't think so. He says it's certainly Gilardoni is going to hold on. He moved to the inside to break any of the tow. Further down, Charlie Hollings also getting well and truly in the mix. Joe Osborne showing some really good pace, though, going purple in Sector 1 and starting to close on the back of David Fuminelli. 6/10 is all that separates that pairing, so we've got some really tight gaps right across this grid, and this race still very much in full swing.
The bar lowers again, a 36.768 for Joe Osborne, fastest lap of the race, and both he and Fuminelli are bettering themselves lap on lap, but Osborne is going that little bit quicker and could soon be a threat for the lead. Giardoni, meanwhile, still looking like a threat for P6 as Martin Conrad continues to hold them off in the Mamba, the Manfilter Team Landgraf car. Bernd Schneider, the DTM legend, the Formula One racer. I could continue to list accolades, but we haven't got all day. He is the man behind the Manfilter Team Landgraf crew, and a fabulous driver, fabulous personality as well. He'll be willing on Martin and Alexander as the race progresses. They currently lead the AM category, and the train behind the 25 car continues to look like it might come off the rails. Giardoni looking racy at the various braking points around the lap.
Yeah, but he doesn't want to be held up. This is the last thing he needs, because of course the longer this stays the way it is, Moritz Kranz is going to increase that deficit. So there you can see the car of Leonardo Polcini making its way down through towards turn 1. They're currently stuck in 3rd place, trying to chase on Joe Osborne, who is just lost around 2/10 out of David Fuminelli. So despite the fastest lap being set by Joe Osborne, he is losing at some point in the lap. David Fuminelli showing that turn of foot, but there you can see further back the likes of Martin Conrad still holding back the threat of Kevin Gilardoni. Still half a second is the difference between the pair. Gilardoni, he's going to be more and more frustrated as this time goes on. You see there a little shake of the front end as he rides over the curb there in the Team Oregon Lamborghini Huracan GT3. In behind as well, Jamie Stanley. What a visit so far. He's right in the mix, representing the AM category, with Charles Hollings also in the same one. Rima Jafali as well in the fight. 1.5 seconds back, though. Will certainly be pleased to have this battle resuming, because it'll just bring her closer.
I dare say Giardoni hasn't got the traction control up that high on that car. It's doing a lot of bucking and weaving under acceleration. You almost never turn off traction control completely in a GT3 car, but he's certainly letting his pedal and his foot do most of the talking at the wheel of that one. And Martin Conrad coming under increasing pressure as we see him at the back of shot there through Gancho. Here's Polcini, who's just slightly dropping off Osborne. Osborne in turn is reeling in Fuminelli seemingly, although he was a couple of tenths slower on that last lap. Of course, the closer you get to one of these GT3 cars, if you're following, the more aero becomes a factor. Dirty air is a thing in these GT3 cars, obviously not to the extent of some other categories, but they are aero dependent, and you do feel the wash off the front end when you are tucked behind another car. And here is that battle for sixth once again. Martin Conrad continuing to lead the way in the AM class and in this battle for sixth place. But Giardoni actually a little further back than he has been the last couple of laps. I don't think Conrad is going to have to go defensive into turn 6 this time, although maybe I've just jinxed it.
Well, I have to say, statement of brilliance, I think, at this moment from Martin Conrad, doing a great job holding back the tide. Though Kevin Gilardoni, I bet, is under his breath, is not happy whatsoever. You can see him behind. Still, there's this string of cars resume this chase upon Martin Conrad. You can see there further up that Joe Osborne still in the fight, trying to gain on David Fuminelli. Further back, Leonardo Polcini for the Oregon team. Further back, Yannick Mettler stuck in behind approximately 2.6. That gap's been thrown out by another second since we last checked, and rounded the next right. Still very much there though, in fourth place. Moritz Kranz in behind him, and he'll soon send it across to Janine Schaffner when the driver changes reoccur. So still Fuminelli on top, certainly nothing disturbing that top spot right now, with Joe Osborne still maintaining that 0.7 of a second gap. I would guess the real moves are going to be happening in the midfield, aren't they?
They could well be, but Martin Conrad is really putting in some canny driving there in sixth place. If you watch him around some of the corners, what he's doing is he's going deep into the corner. That therefore allows him a better run out of the turn, and that covers off any chance of a run from Kevin Giardoni down the following straight. He's being very canny with his defending, as Fuminelli and Osborne continued to exchange fastest laps in first and second place. This time, as you just saw on the screen, it's Fuminelli with the fastest lap of the race so far, a 1:36.697, but that was only a few hundredths of a second slower than Osborne, who proceeds to set a purple first sector, as if to say, anything you can do, I can do better. Leonardo Pulcini still there in third place. He's about 1.5 seconds off these two at the moment, but there's still a long, long way to go here at Estoril.
Yeah, certainly is. Long way to go indeed. Just over 53 minutes left in the session, and Joe Osborne getting closer and closer to the rear of David Fuminelli's Kessel Racing Ferrari as they come through the next right-hander now. Certainly David Fuminelli's going to want to try and fill that gap just a little bit more, but Joe Osborne doing a sterling job in the Optimum Motorsport McLaren as they make their way through the chicane at Gancho corner at turns 9 and 10, and very soon they'll round out of turn 11 in towards turn 13, and there you can see still the McLaren start to room up. What about Polcini though? Starting to gain 1.3 though, the gap in between him and Joe Osborne as they round the Parabolica, Ayrton Senna, and still Fuminelli holding his own. There you can see in behind as well Joe Osborne. Can he get closer and closer before turn 1? We're yet to see it. Is there a question of straight line speed? We'll have to wait and see as they make their way down in towards turn 1. Still David Fuminelli able to hold back the tide, but don't write off Osborne, he's not done yet.
I feel Benji Hites will be sat there in the Oregon team box, feeling not assured, not self-assured, but I think he'll be feeling quite confident about his chances once he takes the car over up against the two who will be ahead of him if things stay as they are. The 133 Kessel Ferrari will of course be taken over by Murat Chuharoglu, and then Nick Moss will take over the McLaren, and I think Benji Hites will be sat there thinking there's definitely a shot at an overall win here, but of course catching is one thing, passing is another, and there's no better example of that than this battle that we see here. Martin Conrad again doing a stellar job defending, holding on to the AM lead and 6th overall, but look at Osborne on this lap. He's looking closer, isn't he? It was down at 0.7 for a while. It was half a second, well, 5.5 last time across the line, and you just get the feeling it's that little bit closer as they turn through Gancho this time.
Yeah, and very easy to lose the car as well, but they do it masterfully. Just looking at Joe Osborne looking very, very menacing in second place. There once again is Martin Conrad with Kevin Gilardoni in behind, still holding back the Pro, the AM category car, doing an absolutely sterling job there, currently in 5th place. And looking further back, you can see the gap starting to draw out in between Charles Hollings and Dreamer Jafali now. It's out to 4.5 tenths of a second, 4.6 seconds now. As we can see there, Jamie Stanley in the AF Corsa Ferrari as they ran the final corner. It's still currently as they are. Martin Conrad in 6th place, Kevin Gilardoni still in 7th, being left frustrated here by the AM car that's doing such a great job in holding him back. Further back then is Jamie Stanley with Charlie Hollings then in behind him. So no change still, but nevertheless, I'm sure the way things are stood up right now, you're absolutely right. I think Martin Conrad doing an absolutely brilliant job at this moment.
Yeah, great defensive driving from him. Giardoni, Stanley and Hollings, the pursuing drivers, all from different teams and 3 different manufacturers at Lockheads at the moment in this race. And there you see again Conrad going a little bit wide, but I don't think he quite got the run out of Curve VIP that he was hoping for. I think the front tyres maybe not quite as bountiful as they were when he got this race started, and that's given Giardoni a little bit of an opportunity. Giardoni looks to the inside, can't find a way through in that number 19 car, but he's not going to give up yet. Bouncing across the curves they go, and Giardoni to the inside line at T7. He's not going to find a Lamborghini's width there. Martin Conrad continues to hold on, but that is the other side of the tactic I was discussing. You go wide at the corner, you do so to help your run, but here we go, side by side, Giardoni up the inside, and a great move for 6th position, and here comes the moment that Conrad was being prepared for in his head, maybe getting worried about, because Jamie Stanley, I think, got through there too. Once one driver gets past, you end up opening the floodgates, and here comes Joe Osborne. We've opened the floodgates for all of the on-track action, George.
The dominoes are falling here at Estoril, that's for sure. There's certainly Fuminelli holding his own, though, away from Joe Osborne, who hasn't left the rear of that Ferrari at this moment in time. The carbon fibre, now black, currently holding its own, leading the way. There you can see the McLaren in 2nd place. Leonardo Pulcini still thereabouts, but he has dropped back. 1.5 seconds is currently the gap between him and Joe Osborne. Here's the replay here at Gancho Court. I can't understate how brilliant this move is. Just look at it. He chucked it up the inside. We haven't seen anything like this all weekend, but that is absolutely sensational. Huge effort. Found the apex as well. Wonderful move from Kevin Gilardoni, and now his frustrations have been eased. But what about Jamie Stanley as well?
Yeah, Stanley did get through after we cut away there as well. So Stanley now the AM leader and in 7th overall. Martin Conrad down to 8th place. So all change, and that's why Martin Conrad was defending so hard. Yes, Kevin Giardoni is a pro driver. However, as soon as Gilardoni got through, it was always likely that Jamie Stanley may follow. And bouncing across the curbs is Joe Osborne. Gancho can be an overtaking opportunity. We don't see it often. It caught me by surprise. I think it caught Martin by surprise also, and unfortunately turn 2, catching the driver of the 777, Marcin Jedlinski, by surprise a little as well. It seems as though there's some front end damage to that Audi as well. I don't know whether that was there as a result of maybe the first lap incident pre-red flag or not, but certainly that car walking a little bit wounded.
Just to add to the woes of Olymps weekend, it has been a really, really difficult one for them in this race, that's for sure. Obviously losing Stanislav Jedlinski earlier on in that big incident we had in the opening laps here at Estoril. But there you can see now, once again, the battle reigniting between David Fuminelli and Joe Osborne. Now, this was a battle we saw in qualifying technically as well, because they were exchanging blows on the timing screens towards the end. It was that clutch finale, though, by David Fuminelli that allowed him to hold on to pole position. Joe Osborne registering a 2nd place attempt, but of course, we all saw the changes being made at the commencement of the formation lap, as we're now watching Fuminelli in towards the next left-hander now, and as they do so, rounding this one, you can see there Joe Osborne maybe taking a tighter line there as they make their way now out of turn 5 in towards turn 6. This very tight hairpin at the Parabolica interior, still once again very, very tight to the curb is Joe Osborne, looking very smart indeed, and I get the feeling he's teeing something up here, because as they now work their way, taking a wider stance, moving in towards the Gancho chicane, and that should hopefully give him a better exit as well as they come out of turn 11 and turn 13 and 12. It is going to be interesting. Can Osborne pull off a spectacular move down the home straight? Let's wait and see.
Yeah, we'll have to see. It's very difficult to hold on to the back through the Parabolica Ayrton Senna, but that's exactly what they're trying to do. But Osborne there, you saw, just seemingly slowed up a bit through the corner, and the gap has gone out. We thought that maybe the Optimum Motorsport McLaren may be on the verge of a run, But unfortunately, by the time they got to the exit of the parabolic at Ayrton Senna, it was clear that wasn't to be.
Yeah, absolutely. It looked like he might have closed it coming out of Gancho, but it must have been something afterwards that was causing the issues. It's now out to 0.8 of a second once again. A statement of Fuminelli's defensive driving and his efforts to cultivate his car around a racetrack, that is for sure. But Leonardo Pulcini still maintaining himself a 1.5 second gap, so he's doing a very good job of maintaining the pace right now. Yannick Mettler has dropped back to 4 seconds. Back with Moritz Krantz there, 3.2. Kevin Gillardoni starting to pull away from Jamie Stanley slightly. It's 1.5 now with Martin Conrad dropping back to 2.2. You can see there Charles Hollings only 4/10 away. So you get the feeling that maybe that man in the AM car, well, it's going to be an AM-on-AM battle here, Adam.
Yes, there's certainly a bit of a skirmish down there for 7th, 8th and 9th overall, the AM top 3. Osborne there looking ever feistier as the McLaren driver just continues to try and find the line. You saw him there running wide on the exit of turn 6, didn't you? I think track limits may become an issue if he's not too careful. We have seen some warnings being dished out throughout the order. However, I don't think the 72 car has been well, I was going to say a benefactor, but that's not quite right, a recipient of one of those yet. And here we see the continued adventures of the AM class fight. Now it's 2nd and 3rd place under contest. Martin Conrad holding off Charlie Hollings. And Hollings will be eager to get past before he hands over to Omar Jackson, who will take over in the not too distant future. I know Omar's excited to make his International GT Open debut in just a few minutes. As we alluded to at the very start of this broadcast, Charlie Hollings, a big pivotal part of developing Omar Jackson's skills. And always great to see the progression among the bronze-rated and gentleman drivers.
Absolutely, and putting them in amongst this field, it challenges them to get better as well, but it brings out the best in them, which I think we've seen from Martin Conrad, giving his defensive efforts against Kevin Gillardoni, currently sitting 2nd in class, in behind as well. Charlie Hollings, though, trying to make it so he is 2nd in class now. As you can now see them worming their way through the next left now. Car number 25 simply doing its bits at this moment in time. And very shortly, I'm sure we'll see them come to blows very, very soon. They're coming out of turn 5, very soon in towards turn 6. And there is the Kessel Racing car of Charlie Hollings, just urging closer by the moment. Just under half a second is all that separates them, but still plenty of time. And I believe in a moment's time, or not long, we'll see the pit window open.
1 minute and 15 seconds. I was about to make that point. When we get to the 42 minutes to go marker in this race, the pit window will open. In other words, next time these two come around the start-finish straight, next time these two cars indeed come across the start-finish straight, they could duck into the pit lane should they choose. Now, we've said that we expect quite a few drivers to hold out until the end. There were a lot of the quicker drivers in the cars for qualifying and subsequently the start of the race here today, but I'm sure we will start to see a few pit stops coming in at that 42-minute marker that we're just approaching now. And once that does happen, the floodgates open for a lot of changes. The race becomes a little bit unclear for a while as the pit cycle filters itself out. But what is clear is the fact that Joe Osborne wants to try and take this lead before any nonsense about pit stops and driver changes.
Yeah, I think he's given up waiting here, Adam, at this stage. They're making their way down now towards the next dipper, towards turn 6. And there you can see Fuminelli still holding on to that advantage. 3/10 is all the gap. It's shrinking all the time. Joe Osborne pulling off another stellar effort here in 2nd place. Obviously currently leading the pro contingent of drivers, but the Pro-Am currently being held by David Fuminelli as they come through the next right still, and just nursing it around this next right-hander. We have got the change now. It has become active, so driver swaps will be of the realm as they head up now through the next chicane here between turns 9 and 10 at Gancho. There you can see Joe Osborne literally right on the edge at this point as they head through this next right-hander. The question is, do they look to pit or do they extend for a long stint? We did suspect that it would be a long one, that Fuminelli would take it long, and that Joe Osborne would as well. He looks a little bit better, hugging the inside, heading through that final bend. And indeed, no signs of them diving into the pit lane just yet. Here comes Joe Osborne, right on the rear, lights ablaze here as they lead down towards turn 1. As they do so, there you can see the Kessel Racing car still in front. David Fuminelli, though, able to hold on just for now. Joe Osborne waiting tentatively.
Well, Fuminelli, of course, in the process of running it deep into the Parabolica Ayrton Senna, then squared up the corner exit and gave himself a better run down the main straight. I think that was more intent than mistake, I think, from Fuminelli, or at least if you asked him, that's certainly what he'd say. And it was actually beneficial ultimately as Osborne continues to hound the back of that Ferrari. We do have our first pit caller, and it is Kevin Giardoni, who will now hand over to young Glenn Van Berlo. Van Berlo, who has been making progress in the world of GT racing after a successful stint as a junior single-seater driver, the 2019 Spanish F4 runner-up, and is now tackling his full season effort in GT cars here in GTOpen. Also in, Rima Jafali handing over to Adam Christodoulou, and the 777 Audi is in too. Marcin Jedlinski will hand over to Karol Bash.
Yeah, as we can see, those pit stop efforts, those simulations they were running are now being put to the test. There you can see Rima Jafali just strapping in Christodoulou into the car, and very shortly he will make his way out of the pit lane. You can see there up on the jacks the tyres being changed. There is Joe Osborne coming around this next right, still letting fly here, and Fuminelli as they now make their way through the next right, soon to be down the home straight. Still leading Fuminelli with Osborne in second place, Polcini in third. I think he might have closed slightly, seems to have held it at 1.6, it hasn't changed too much. There is Van Berlo making his way out of the pit lane, so he effectively, that car will be lapped at this stage up until the point, obviously, when Fuminelli and Osborne box.
And the interesting thing is he's actually going to come out right in front of Leonardo Polcini. And just as we swept with the top two there, you saw the two of them seemingly having a bit of a moment there. And I think Polcini is still behind the sister car. So there could be some drama ongoing, some flailing of limbs and raising of voices down at Oregon team at the moment. And let's see if Polcini is finally allowed through. Of course, it's very difficult to tell which car is ahead when they're both pro entries. Not only that, but they're both identically liveried. But yes, the 63 has gotten through. So Leonardo Polcini has been let pass, but he will have lost about a second there, I think, at minimum, to Glenn Van Berlo coming out ahead of him. And he will be fuming.
Yeah, less than ideal at this point. 2.5 seconds, a whole second was taken out of the deficit between Leonardo Polcini and Joe Osborne. So certainly not helpful at this stage. Fuminelli still leading though, Osborne in second, and Polcini now down into 13.7, so he's got out another 10th as well. So punishing really for the Oregon team.
Yes, it's only going up as well. Polcini may well have lost his rhythm there as well. He was actually really hammering along before that happened. In fact, he still has the fastest lap of the race to his credit, to 1:36.594. But Polcini now has to refocus and hope that that doesn't ultimately show on the timing screens at the end of the race as the deficit between himself and victory for he and Benji Hites. There is Polcini in third place. You see him making a couple of adjustments as he runs down the main straight. Joe Osborne, don't think he has time to consider the adjustments. He's been all over the back of David Fuminelli for the duration of this race, really, ever since we came back from the red flag, had the safety car and went back to green flag action. It's been a jousting match between Fuminelli and Osborne, and to David Fuminelli's credit, he has not put a foot wrong.
No, not at all. He has put, he's done everything right as they now around turn 5. You can see they're in behind as well. Joe Osborne trying to get closer and closer. This has been the story pretty much all race right now. Polcini still in third, has managed to pull away from his teammate, who's currently now sat in the overall standings in 9th place. Like we said before, obviously the cars are lapping during the pit stop phase, but obviously they will unlap when the other cars box as well. Fuminelli currently nursing 19 laps on his tyres, with Osborne in second place. Once again, there is Martin Conrad with none other than Charles Hollings right in behind him as well, and naturally ahead of them we've got quite a hefty gap then to Jamie Stanley, 3.8 seconds is the gap there, with Charlie Hollings looking less than impressive, being stuck in behind Martin Conrad right now.
A difficult position for Karol Bash behind as well. He may well have more pace at the moment, having taken over the Olymp Racing Audi, even with that axe wound to the left front quarter panel that he's got. But of course he is a lap down, and really there is somewhat of a code of conduct. You are strictly, it doesn't matter if you unlap yourself, but he'll know that these two are having a battle, and he'd know how he would feel if someone unmapped themselves and put them between the two cars fighting. So I think Karel Bash will be in two minds at the moment. However, he will want to make forward progress through the order, so let's see what happens there. Fuminelli continues on then. This pit window still has 8 minutes left. So there is still plenty of time for the pit stops to unfold. They will stop at the 28-minute-to-go marker of this race. So still lots of time for the swaps to occur. We again expect Fuminelli and Osborne to run this right to the hilt, and I just wonder if Leonardo Pulcini maybe called in a bit earlier than that to move over to Benji Hites and maybe get the undercut, and Osborne there. He's been running wide at turn 6 for a while, but that time he pushed his luck too far, dragged some gravel onto the circuit, and was lucky to keep that McLaren in the straight line.
Yeah, he was fortunate not to lose more time as well. He's lost about a tenth. He was 4 tenths behind. Now it's 5 as they come up through the Gancho corners again. So Joe Osborne licking his wound slightly from that venture onto the gravel trap. But as they head around now, this next right-hander, here's the replay. You can just see it just going a bit too far and scraping up that gravel. Oh, the marshals did a good job in tidying up the circuit earlier on. They're going to be disgusted by the sight of that, but nevertheless, Joe Osborne staying on track. Nice to see, and certainly he will not let go of Fuminelli. This battle will resume.
He did that in solidarity with the marshals. He wanted to give some of the other guys something to do after turn 4 and 5 were so busy earlier on. Osborne then continues to press on. No harm, no foul in regards to that little off-track moment. We've got some very quick drivers in the cars now from those that have already pitted. Glenn Van Berlo, Adam Christodoulou, Axel Jeffries, Karel Bash, Alan Vellante, all drivers that have now joined the race in this second phase. And they, of course, will not only be a little closer to some of these quick guys or some of these cars that haven't pitted yet by the time the pit stops are completed, but they will then also potentially go scything through the order in the remaining 28 minutes of the race once the window is shut.
Yeah, absolutely. So no time like the present very shortly. These drivers are going to be looking to box soon, but still Fuminelli existing in front right now. 6 seconds approximately. Sorry, not 6 seconds, 6 minutes until it all comes, or it slams shut for driver changes. So Fuminelli has still got a little bit of time. Joe Osborne in behind, 7 tenths. Pulcini in 3rd. Mettler in 4th right now. That's not in terms of class, we're talking overalls, folks. Osborne currently leading his class of pros, but obviously Fuminelli being a Pro-Am, currently leading the overall standings and the Pro-Am category, with Mettler in 2nd in his category and currently 4th overall as well. But that battle still resuming further down. Oh, that's drawn out. Charles Hollings 1.2 now away from Martin Conrad, so Conrad has gained somewhat. So super job from Martin Conrad.
And here's Axel Jeffries. I did mention that Axel had taken the wheel and we'd expect him to be quick. He's set the fastest lap of the race and he's now on the hunt, having taken over from Roman Zemian in that 73 Kessel racing car. Axel, a serial championship winner in the world of Lamborghini Super Trofeo racing, has had success in championships in GT3 cars too, and a stellar single-seater career before that also. The young Zimbabwean driver, still I believe only 28 years old, he's been around for a long time in spite of his age. And Axel, a great addition to the grid, and he's going to try and stamp his authority on the second half of this race as best he can, even though he is quite a way back there in 13th right now.
Yeah, 2nd in the Asian Le Mans series back in 2021. And no doubt he would love to add a victory in the International GTOpen to his list of credentials and accolades as well. There is Fuminelli once again, still holding off that of Joe Osborne. No mistake this time for Joe Osborne. You just see the gravel from his last venture heading out through that right-hander, but still holding his own. And 4 tenths of the second-hand gap has been reeled back in, so Fuminelli not broken away from Osborne just yet as they come up through towards Gancho corner. Once again, the McLaren getting so close. He seems to get close at this point, but then, of course, you see Fuminelli turning on the style, heading around the final corner and opening up down the straight, but has he left a little bit left in the tank here for Osborne? Let's wait and see as they now make their way in towards the next right-hander at the Ayrton Senna Parabolica. There is Fuminelli and Osborne, literally nose to tail, and as they do so down this long stretch, will Osborne have a chance to get in the slipstream? No, I think he's done enough. Fuminelli opened it up again down this long straight. He seems to have found a way to keep this McLaren in behind. The sole McLaren in this field. I have to say, Fuminelli, sterling job.
And they're just about, I believe, going to have to pit next time around. I think if they do another lap at the end of this one, I think they'll just about miss the pit window. You have to be in before the 28-minute marker hits. So I suspect this time by we'll see not just these two, but also Paul Cheney in third, all head into the pit lane. Yannick Mettler and Moritz Krantz will also all pit, so the top 5, the holdouts, will come in. Jamie Stanley already in further back. The leading AM car has pitted. Martin Conrad has stayed out. So Joe Osborne, I think, is going to have to settle for the fact he hasn't made the overtake on circuit, but he'll hand over to Nick Moss and see what he can do. Here is Laurent Demise getting into well, that was the 55 car, and there's Omar Jackson now trying to get into the 70. And he will take over the Kessel Racing Ferrari. The driver change is smooth. They've been working on those for many a month in the various garages at testing and the various factories between races, and they're now seeing the fruit of their labour. In fact, they could do one more lap just about. My math's a little bit out. They've got 2 minutes and 15 to go. It's a 1 minute 36 second lap, so they could stay out. The question is, do they? The answer is 1 yes, 1 no. David Fuminelli in. He will now hand the 133 car over to Murat Chihadaroglu. Joe Osborne presses on for one more lap, and you can guarantee that this is going to be a qualifying lap. If he can hand the car over to Nick Moss and Moss comes out in the lead, he'll feel it's a job well done. If he doesn't succeed in doing that, he'll be bitterly disappointed.
Well, he's given himself a great opportunity to do so. There's the other Oregon car coming in. That is, of course, Leonardo Colcini, who will then swap with Benji Hites jumping in the car himself, and they'll be looking for a nice quick getaway with the tyre switches as well. There is Janine Schaffner getting to the Get Speed performance, certainly the Pro-Am category of car, and just whacking the tyres on there. You can see that the garage crew working hard, lifting up those tyres and sending them. There's Joe Osborne. Speaking of sending it, he's going to need to on this lap. He does improve in the first sector. He's going to need a big improvement in sector 2 and 3. In comes the Manfilter car as well. The Manfilter team Landgraf. Martin Conrad jumping out now. So this is going to be a key moment for them, because they were right in that midfield fight.
Bernd Schneider watching on from the garage there in the white shirt, the serial DTM champion, serial 24-hour winner in GT3 cars as well with the SLS. Back in the early mid-2010s, he went on a proper run of form in endurance race cameos, did Bernd Schneider, now overseeing his Team Landgraf outfit. There is the SPS car. Dexter Muller will be taking that one over from Yannick Mettler, and in this time, by force of the rulebook, is Joe Osborne. I think if he'd had the opportunity, he'd have stayed out there all day long. He looked to be having fun in the McLaren, but he now has to let Nick Moss have his fun. Let's see where Moss comes out relative to Murat Chihadaroglu. That's going to be the big one. Chihadaroglu just out now from the pit lane. Nick Moss may well rejoin side by side, or possibly even just ahead, because Joe Osborne has done one more flying lap. And look at this. This is a battle for the AM lead. No, not the AM lead, sorry, this is AM and Pro-Am. Naughty Adam, bad. The 55 car of Laurent Demise there having to make a wide car because Adam Christodoulou is coming in hot. And Laurent Demise, oh, Laurent with a spin. I was going to say Laurent doing a good job of holding off Christodoulou, but did do a good job in just skating across the gravel trap. Hopefully with the grass under the rear wheels, he can get the car underway without a safety car intervention, and he has done so. That was critical there, that he managed to get the car all the way through the gravel trap. He found some traction and got back underway, but Adam Christodoulou, obviously too wide and too scary and imposing in the mirrors. Laurent just overcooked it, and well, Christodoulou did a good job to avoid that.
Yeah, just dipped it, I think, slightly. Oh, dearie me. Yeah, the slide. I think the pressure maybe just getting to him. Adam Christodoulou managing to just sort of just find his way through. Luckily enough, didn't get caught up in the drift of the car. But now we see Joe Osborne's car with Nick Moss now in the seat, making its way out of the pit lane, and he now currently sits in second place overall. Benji Hites currently on top.
I think once the timing screen resets itself, we'll see that Moss is in the lead. Yes, through sector 1 he goes. The trick of the timing screen in that one, the sector splits in odd places. Hites will be about 4.8 seconds back. He is 4.8 seconds back after the first sector. We just saw him in the back of the shot coming out of the first corner as Moss exited the pits. We suggested that Nick Moss would be in a good position and potentially in the lead. What we didn't suggest is that Murat Çiğdişoğlu would be that far back, but there he is down in 3rd overall. Still our Pro-Am leader, of course, but he's really ended up leaving it to the pros, as it were, in terms of the overall lead battle.
Yeah, Nick Moss, 4.8 seconds clear now of Benji Hites, as now we see the Oregon car of Benji Hites now rounded this next right, heading up now towards Gancho at turns 9 and 10. And just easing the car through now, of course. He has done so much himself in the world of GT racing, 2022 GT world. Oh, what's happened here? We've got a problem.
Yeah, I don't know whether this car even exited the pit lane, unfortunately. Man filter Team Landgraf seemingly going no further. Alexander Krakowina not getting his opportunity to fight for the AM win. Krakowina and Martin Conrad, who have been AM contenders in GTOpen previously, we haven't seen them since 2019, and how unfortunate that we're not going to see them take any further part in this race. Nick Moss, as we said, he's a bronze-rated driver, but he's taken a bet on himself and said, right, boys, let's enter pro. And at the moment, he's got a 4.5 second deficit over Benji Hites. Now, Hites did actually take a few tenths out. Hites, sorry. Benji Hites in the 63 car has taken a few tenths out of Nick Moss, but what you've got to remember as well is that Nick was on cold tyres for part of that lap as well. So let's not count out Nick Moss's chances here. He could yet be a huge factor in this race. 5th overall, Glenn Van Berlo, 3rd among the pro class runners, and closing in on Janine Schaffner. Janine, in turn, is closing in on the 3rd place driver, Murat Çiğdişoğlu. So Pro-Am lead could well be under contest in the last 25 minutes of this race. And we'll have to see whether Glenn Van Berlo can pick his way through to an overall podium.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see. Glenn Van Berlo, certainly a relentless figure, has done so much himself too. We're 2nd in 2019 Spanish F4 as well. Oh, wow, we've got some a little bit of congestion heading around turn 1. There you can see the Team GT car in behind as well. The car that was once being driven by Jamie Stanley, that being the AF Corsa. We've now got a side-by-side action here with the Kessel car heading through turn this next right-hander now, and that's Axel Jeffries moving up, and a little bit of traffic in the early goings on, but caught napping there is the Team GT car, and now Axel Jeffries can move up a spot.
Yeah, Axel Jeffries making up position in Pro-Am and overall there. So Jeffries getting past Alain Valente in the Team GT machine. And here's Janine Schaffner on the defensive. Glenn Van Berlo says, I'd like to get past. And Janine says, well, if only it was that easy. Janine will fight every inch of the way to hold on to this 4th overall. However, she may also consider the fact that she's closing in on Çiğdişoğlu up ahead, and well, we'll see. Certainly for now, it looks like Janine is going to hold off Glenn as much as she possibly can, but if she does release the Oregon Team Lamborghini, it could be beneficial in terms of the class running order.
Yeah, absolutely. Currently, right now, 2 pros on top with Murat Çiğdişoğlu in 3rd place for Pro-Am. And then, of course, Janine Schaffner in pro. Oh, a bit of a twisty front end there from Glenn Van Berlo. Just unsettled slightly as they head through this next right-hander. Now he's got to try and go side by side with Janine Schaffner, who just tries to hold him off heading around this next left. And as they do so, making the almighty climb, it is Glenn Van Berlo who comes out on top in this affair. But Janine Schaffner still closing down on Murat Çiğdişoğlu.
All pit handicaps okay, is the word from the race control. That will be of relief to the teams and the stewards. They don't like penalising drivers, honest. And all handicaps okay means that everyone served the mandatory amount of time that they needed to in pit lane. A replay there of Van Berlo going all the way around the outside of Janine Schaffner. Very well done. And here's some Pro-Am Mercedes warfare. That's going to be good fun. Dexter Muller there, who's, I think, been overtaken by Christodoulou in the last sector or so, if I'm not mistaken. I think Christodoulou may now be up to 6th place. Yes, he is. So that was a move made in the last few corners. And, well, Christo, we know he's quick, and He's one of the most potent drivers you could possibly fit into a Mercedes-AMG GT3 car. And well, he is, what, 8.7 seconds back from Janine Schaffner. As we see what happens, it was actually rather gentle. Oh no, I'm not sure if it was that gentlemanly. Almost met in the middle, Dexter Muller and Adam Christodoulou. But Christodoulou, of course, the pro in the Pro-Am setup here in this particular FIBA Motorsport car. He is closing in at a rate of knots on Janine Schaffner and Murat Chahadaroglu. And he could well make it a winning debut in the International GT Open for FIBA Motorsport and his teammate Rima Jafali.
Yeah, Rima Jafali would be delighted to have commenced their campaign here in the International GT Open with a very good performance in the Pro-Am category. As we're now watching the Team Oregon car make its way through. This is Benji Hites now heading up towards Gancho Corner, currently second overall in the pros. Nick Moss ahead of him. 3.6 seconds is the solitary gap, and it looks like it might be coming down slightly, certainly faster by around 2/10 at this moment in the second sector as Benjamin Hites from Nick Moss. So he's putting in some mega strides at this point, trying to close upon that man in the Kessel racing car. Very interesting indeed. All to play for, all the positions up for question.
Yeah, Benji's definitely chipping away. Glenn Van Berlo's not so much chipping away as taking an axe to the piece of wood. Here comes Van Berlo up to the back of Chahadaroglu. Of course, this is not for class honours, this is for overall position, however. You'd suspect that Van Berlo will get through, and oh, he does! But Chahadaroglu there, I thought for a minute was going to come a cropper there, not expecting Van Berlo to be up the inside quite so quickly. So, Glenn Van Berlo is up into third in the overall classification. Chahadaroglu is down to fourth, but Chahadaroglu continues to be the Pro-Am leader. But watch out for those Mercedes that you just saw in the sun haze in the back of shot. Janine Schaffner, she's closing, and Christodoulou, he's charging.
Absolutely, and have a look at the standings order. How about that move though? Glenn Van Berlo, when you least expect it, he's there. Makes his way through on the inside. Wonderful job indeed, and now in third place overall. Third place as well in class, of course, in the pro category. All the standings now straightened out. We've got 3 pros up at the top end, but then a string of pro-ams from Murat Chahadaroglu all the way down to Alan Valente. They're in 10th place within the AM categories of Laurent Demeus and Omar Jackson, with Alexander Harakowina as well in P13. As we can now see now, Janine Schaffner currently holding off the effects here of Adam Christodoulou, who's certainly putting in a hard effort here right now. Just look at the time gap starting to drift back inwards now. Adam Christodoulou, 3.2 seconds. That's a 6/10 change since we last saw it. So he is absolutely rapid right now. We just saw him in the rear of the shot there.
Yeah, Christodoulou, I said he was going to be charging, and Janine Schaffner will put up the best fight she possibly can. I have no doubt over that, but I think potentially we could have a situation where Chahadaroglu falls into the clutches of Schaffner and Christodoulou arrives at much the same time. It's going to be a scrap for Pro-Am honours. At the moment, all the smart money is on Adam Christodoulou, it must be said. However, anything can happen on the circuit. On paper, it's very different, but who knows what happens when these 3 cars come together. Schaffner, though, will be very, very conscious of the green and grey number 18 Mercedes that's closing in. And here we see Omar Jackson about to be put a lap down by the leader. So Nick Moss homing in on the back of Omar, who's making his debut in GT Open here this weekend off of a couple of good seasons in Ferrari Challenge. And unfortunately, he's made his car a bit wide out of turn 6. Didn't compromise Moss too much. In fact, no. I thought he might have let him through, but that wasn't the case. Jackson then to the inside, and that's rather unnerved Nick Moss. Oh, Omar Jackson is not going to be popular in the Optimum Motorsport camp right now because he is hindering Nick Moss in a big way. And look at Benji Hites. The gap has gone down hugely. He lost almost 3 seconds in the middle sector, did Nick Moss. About 2.3 seconds, I think it was, all in all. And Benji Hites is coming, and he's coming quickly indeed. Let's see if now he can get around Omar without too much problem. Well, yes, the Lamborghini should now have the firepower to get up the inside into turn 1. Let's wait and see, though. Hites is going to hope he can capitalise on what's happened here between Moss and Jackson. Yes, later on the brakes into the first corner and laps Omar without too much trouble. But Hites has suddenly been given a new ray of hope for an overall victory victory here at Estoril.
Yeah, I've got to say, I think Nick Moss would have hoped that Omar Jackson would have done him a favour in return
Yes,
and held him up, but no, not this time, unfortunately. Obviously, the straight coming at an unfortunate moment for Nick Moss, allowing Benji Hites to take advantage. And now, 2 seconds, only the deficit is cascaded downwards. And here again, we have a replay involving Christodoulou getting in the midst with Janine Schaffner as they make their way down through towards the next right. The two Mercedes side by side, and Anam Christodoulou managing to move ahead of Janine Schaffner for that 5th place, 2nd in category.
Okay, and here we go. Here's the Pro-Am lead. Almost as soon as we see the 2nd place situation change. Now, Adam Christodoulou is on the back of Murat Chadaroglu. Chadaroglu runs it wide, gets loose. Adam Christodoulou does so in turn as well, but he gets through into the lead of Pro-Am. Christodoulou there got unnerved because he thought he was about to have a Ferrari go across his front end. Thankfully, Chadaroglu held it well, and there we go. Christodoulou is through into the lead, and let's not forget that Janine Schaffner is waiting in the wings too. She's very unlikely to be able to challenge Christodoulou from behind. However, she is about to get into a scrap with Chadaroglu, and that could be some very entertaining television.
Yeah, it could well be indeed. And there we see the replay. Oh, very close between the pair.
Angle.
Yeah, it does. It looks worse. They're stepping out just so aggressively, but Christodoulou doing enough there to get himself past of Chadaroglu, and he is now down to 5th overall, 2nd in class with Janine Schaffner right on the tail now at this moment in time, as we can now see certainly that of Nick Moss on top with Benji Hites chasing. There's Janine Schaffner though, making her way through and round the next right-hander. And I have to say, what a moment indeed. I tell you what, they're getting close, nose to tail now, and certainly it looks like it might be the turn of Janine Schaffner to maybe take a scalp here at Estoril. So certainly nose to tail here, leading down towards turn 1. The Kessel racing car that was leading the majority of the way with Fuminelli in charge has now got Chadaroglu, now currently sat in 2nd in the Pro-Am category, but also 5th overall. You can see there Janine Schaffner trying to get close, trying to make an opening, trying to enforce a gap, but not at this moment in time. She's going to have to wait a little longer.
I'm sure that John Schaffner, husband of Janine, is watching on at home. He's also a racing driver. He's also taken on the Nürburgring 24-hour on various occasions. He's now focusing on a slightly calmer pursuit. Wait, no, calmer's not the word. He's decided he wants to be a spaceman instead of a racing driver. I think that's the opposite of calm, and all the best to him as he continues to prepare for his mission. I think he might be taking off before the end of the year on his first ever space flight. He will be cheering on Janine, and Janine will be desperate to try and get through for 2nd in Pro-Am. It would be a great start to her season, and it would really validate the efforts of Moritz Kranz in the early stages of this race. Christodoulou, though, streaking off into the distance. Pro-Am victory looking pretty likely for himself and the FIBA crew, and just Chadaroglu having another moment on the throttle there, ran it deep into Gancho, and you just saw there he almost had a spin. He managed to hold it together once again, but ultimately Janine Schaffner didn't have to fight for that one as hard as we thought.
Yeah, Janine Schaffner now sending her Mercedes up into orbit, moving up ahead of Chadaroglu. Incredible stuff indeed. Now up into 5th overall, 2nd in category, ahead now of the Kessel racing car. There we can see the little slit that allowed Janine to send it through Gancho corner. I've got to say, she just had to keep it straight, and she keep it comfortable. Chadaroglu has had to now succumb to 3rd place in category.
Smartly driven there by Janine. Here are the top 2 then. Nick Moss still doing a good job here, hauling off Benji Hites. Hites did lose a couple of tenths last time, actually a few hundredths of a second last time. And the gap is still about 1.2 seconds as of the most recent split at Sector 2. So this could still go either way. Nick Moss has been putting on a valiant effort so far up against Benji Hites, 2 drivers who have plenty of silverware in the trophy bank. Here's Christodoulou once again. pushing on in the lead of Pro-Am, but we continue to focus on that gap between Moss and Hites, and you see it on the bottom of your screen there. It's shrinking. Benji Hites, it would be huge for Oregon team on their GTOpen debut, on their GT3 racing debut, to take an overall win here at Estoril. They will be tense in that garage, I assure you, as will Nick Moss, though, at the wheel of that McLaren. And Moss, I'm sure, isn't going to go down without a huge fight.
Well, he's here for the challenge, Adam. He's here for the challenge. He's on top at the moment. I'm sure he'd want to keep it. 11, just under 12 minutes remaining in this session. There you can see the Thiba Motorsport car powered by Adam Christodoulou at this moment in time in 4th overall, lead in their category in Pro-Am. There you can see Benji Hites trying to close on Nick Moss. That gap still stagnates at 1.1 seconds right now. So Nick Moss doing an absolutely sterling effort to keep him at bay. And I can imagine that Joe Osborne will be watching on, and as will the rest of the team, hoping that he can keep this Oregon car at bay. Of course, Benji Hites, a formidable opponent, a formidable character, now making their way up towards the Gancho corners. There's an AF Corsa car currently stagnating. That's going to hold him up a little bit, because Benji Hites is now on the tail of the McLaren. This is a complication as they head through now towards the parabolic, well, not the parabolic Rioton Centre just yet. They will do it turn 13 though. They've managed to negotiate past the AF Corsa car, but has it been too little too late now for Nick Moss? Because now in behind you can see that Benji Hites, with every opportunity down the straight to take the overall lead of the race. Can he do it? The straight line speed on the McLaren saying no as they head down through towards turn 1, past the paddock. It is still Moss in front, leading the way. In behind, Hites. Does he choose to open the door? An ultimate send into turn 1. Oh, so close to touching, but Moss comes out on top, leads the way. It got so tight, so congested. Hites not quite able to pull it off.
I don't think that's the only time we're going to see that kind of thing go on here in the last 10 minutes of the race. With that most recent negotiation of the traffic, Nick Moss has left himself under fire now from Benji Hites, who's going to spend the next 10 minutes desperately vying for the lead, and he could well end up taking it. In defence of Laurent Demirs there, he still leads the AM class, and he's watching the Delta go down because Omar Jackson behind him is actually going very quickly indeed relative to the pace of Laurent in the 55. So I'm sure Laurent's got half an eye on the Delta and half an eye on the mirror, and that would have been a very tricky situation for the AF Corsa driver. What it has created, though, is a fabulous battle for the overall lead. Hites again stating his intent at turn 7, just putting the nose further on the inside and saying, yes, still here, yes, I'm going to try my best. And Nick Moss will defend in return. It's going to be a fabulous 9.5 minutes of racing as they head towards the S's. We get a replay of something further back. Oh, that's Dexter Muller having a little bit of a moment ahead of Axel Jeffries. So Jeffries is promoted up a position. And then what do we see? This is Jahada Roglu having a moment, and that's how Carol Bash got through into 6th overall and 3rd within the Pro-Am category. Here comes Axel Jeffries. We're back to live pictures, and this is Pro-Am 3rd through 6th, sorry, all in one shot. Jeffries gets past the sister Kessel car of Jahada Roglu quite easily for 7th overall and 4th in Pro-Am. Of course, it's 2nd to 5th in Pro-Am that we were looking at there. My apologies. So Axel Jeffries up to 4th in class now. Next target, Carol Bash. Here's the overall lead, though. Battles everywhere you look. And Benji Hites could be on the verge here. He's at the inside at the curve of VIP. He's found a Lamborghini's width. They're side by side. And Moss, oh, he's off into the gravel. He had to play second best there, unfortunately. Contact between the two of them. I think Moss was just trying so hard to keep apex speed, to keep the corner speed going, and unfortunately in doing so he ended up in the gravel. There was a bit of contact between the two of them. That could end up being at least a discussion among the team representatives and the stewards, but for now it's Benji Hites who's through.
Yeah, it certainly was. Just look at the replay. They went side by side, rubbing shoulders with each other. Little bit of contact. The McLaren then moving off. He just did not quite have the traction to stay on the road, and I'm afraid to say Nick Moss, not a mossy area that. It's a gravel trap over there, my friend. But yes, back on track, 2nd place overall still. second in pro category, obviously being part of the pros. And of course, Glenn Van Berlo in third place. But it's looking good for Team Oregon right now. We're well within the 8-minute mark, folks. Just over 7.5 remaining. It's Heates at the heights of the top.
I love the nonchalant shrug from Pulcini as you saw the McLaren go off there, as if to say, yep, well, you know, we're through, so whatever. We'll have to see quite how that one comes out. McLaren goes by, ripping past our main straight here, not too far removed from our commentary position here. We've got 7.5 minutes to go, and Nick Moss, unfortunately, unlikely to be able to stage a comeback against Benji Heates here, but second place would still be a good start to his season. Now, here's the battle I was hoping to see, and the Pro-Am order has shuffled significantly because Jihad Aroglu has got past Janine Schaffner in the second sector there, and now Jihad Aroglu leads a trio of Mercedes. It is Jihad Aroglu 4th in class and 7th overall. Then it's Janine Schaffner in 8th. Dexter Muller has been dropped to 9th place because Alan Valente has just got himself through into 9th. And then rounding out the top 10 is Dexter Muller, and Jihad Aroglu gets a really poor run off the last corner. We got 3 wide momentarily. Who's going to be across the line first is just about Alan Valente. He's got 4th in Pro-Am, he's got 7th overall, but will that still be the case at turn 1? Schaffner gets a shove from the rear there from Jihad Aroglu. It's all kicking off here at Estoril, and well, Valente has done a fabulous job there of picking his way through up to 4th in the Pro-Am class, and Janine Schaffner now under pressure from Dexter Muller. Well, it's funny what can change in a few moments in Pro-Am, and a lot changed all at once there. Alan Valente, though, up to P4.
Yeah, and I have to say, Murat Aroglu lucky to keep hold of the car coming out of turn 2. It got a bit choppy. Here's the ending of the 3-wide moment. Just see there, Schaffner just taking a nudge in the back there. But Alan Valente managed to persevere, get ahead in the 3-wide situation, and now effectively, in his current situation, doing exceptionally well to get ahead of Janine Schaffner, who is now under a lot of pressure herself because Dexter Muller is right on her tail as now they make their way down through towards what will be the next right-hander. Still Schaffner nursing on to her advantage in her place on track as they now make their way in towards the next right. There you can see that the 2 Mercedes now, as they lead up now towards the Gancho chicane, and still the space livery that we love to see. Is it going to remain where it is, or is there going to be an asteroid in the form of what can only be Dexter Muller as they get through the next left-hander now, sector 3 proper, very soon you can imagine around the Etten centre bend as they do so, leading down towards the home straight. Leading in behind, you can see there Dexter Muller looking on, he can see they're ahead, the Mercedes dead ahead, and there further on, you can see there, oh no, there's the battle we want to see as they make their way past the start-finish line. It is still Janine Schaffner leading the way with what looks to be Dexter Muller right on her tail in towards turn 1. Does he open the door? No, defensive work in place there for Janine Schaffner and holds onto her position. Oh, I spoke too soon.
You did, just a bit too much speed out of the corner, and Schaffner, though, does recover it and holds on for now. We did briefly cut to Axel Jeffries challenging Carol Bash as well. Carol Bash, of course, 2nd in the Pro-Am class at the moment, Axel Jeffries 3rd, and Bash is doing a fabulous job here with a slightly second-hand looking Audi R8 from the Olymp Racing stable, holding off Axel Jeffries. Of course, Adam Christodoulou is frankly in a different postcode at the moment, 18 seconds clear. Here's the moment again from Schaffner. We get a better view of it now. Yeah, just asked a bit too much coming out of the corner, but actually recovered it quite nicely. It looked for a moment like Dexter Muller was going to find a way past, but not to be just yet. I'm sure that this battle for 5th in Pro-Am and 8th overall will continue, as actually, look at that, it's switched. Muller has got through, so Janine Schaffner has dropped down over the course of that sector somewhere. We saw the replay of the moment the position change nearly happened. In the meantime, it did.
It certainly did. Dexter Muller managing to take advantage. He is now ahead of Janine Schaffner, and we got a little battle further down as well with Carol Bash and Axel Jeffries. Jeffries, bit of a waiting himself. He wants to try and get past here. This Audi that's been ahead of him, 777, at risk between him and the 73 as they round it towards turn 1, the Kessel Racing car. Not quite able to find the way through. It's still, though, Carol Bash holding on with Axel Jeffries, who has been so potent in this part of the race, trying to make his way around this next right-hander. Of course, ahead of Valente at this point, but that's not his concern. He wants to try and dispatch Carol Bash as best, certainly as best as he can, rounding the next left. Still the Audi holds on and will remain in that overall 5th place.
We've discussed it. We've discussed Axel Jeffries' accolades. Carol Bash was one of the best karters around several years ago. In his time in karting, he defeated Richard Verschoor, Marcus Armstrong, Lance Stroll, Christian Lundgaard, Theo Pourchaire in various events. He jumped straight from karts to Lamborghini Trofeos in what's an unconventional move, so he decided, I'm going to focus on GT racing, and he has adapted wonderfully to this world of competition, and he is having a good fight now with Axel Jeffries, the 777 car, holding on to second in the Pro-Am class, and of course the last rung on the overall top 5. Is this a replay of how Janine Schaffner lost the place earlier on, about a lap ago? Yes, it is. Schaffner just not able to get the power down out of turn 6, missed the apex a bit, and by the time they got to turn 7, Dexter Muller was well clear.
Yeah, just about hanging on, not quite veering off onto the gravel. Well done by Janine. Oh, speaking of gravel, the Olymp car just brushing with it, and now Axel Jeffries moves ahead in his quest to move up the order, and goes ahead of Carol Bash, who now moves down to 6 overall, 3rd in class. So Axel Jeffries now behind Adam Christiandoğlu, 2nd in the Pro-Am category.
Yes, so about 18 seconds between Christodoulou and Jeffries. Not likely to see that gap come down in any significant way. Here you see a bit more of what happened. Carol Bash just tried to carry too much speed. He wanted the best exit possible from the Parabolica Ayrton Senna, and in doing so, he about got the worst one he could. The car looked like it was really unsettled as well. I think maybe the rear tyres have seen better days on the Audi. But here we see more fighting, and again it's Pro-Am, which seems to be the all-action category here today. We are incidentally down towards the final minute of the race, so we are reaching a crescendo here, and here is Cihadaroglu trying to get around Schaffner once again. These two have been at hammer and tongs pretty much ever since they took over the cars. This is for 6th place in the Pro-Am classification and 9th overall, and can Cihadaroglu find a way past? Schaffner certainly looks like she's just maybe fallen off the momentum a little bit. She's just kind of out of rhythm after a couple of moments, and Cihadaroglu could well find his way past. Here, though, on the final lap of the race, is our leader, Benji Hites, on the charge in the number 63, the Oregon team, Lamborghini Huracan GT3 Evo. Would it not be incredible to see the multi-coloured team at the top step in just a few moments' time? It looks like it could be reality. Oregon team in their GTOpen debut, their first ever race, fielding GT3 machinery, and they could have the biggest trophy in Portugal here today. Here comes Hites up through Gancho for the final time. Just the S's and the Parabolica Ayrton Senna left to go. He bounces out of Gancho, over the curbs at the S's, and all that's left is the Parabolica Ayrton Senna, which Benji Hites navigates now. The last corner is complete. The main straight beckons, as does the checkered flag for Benji Hites and his teammate Pulcini. They claim the first win of the 2022 International GTOpen season. Nick Moss will cross the line in 2nd for Optimum Motorsport, along with Joe Osborne, who took the start. A good beginning to their season, albeit they may feel a win was rather robbed from them there by a combination of different elements. Glenn Van Berlo will cross the line in the 2nd of the Oregon team Lamborghinis. Here he is. They will be delighted with that. 4th place overall, just crossing the line now, Adam Christodoulou with a commanding Pro-Am victory. Congratulations to Adam, and congratulations to Rima Jafali as the battle continues on between Schaffner and Cihadaroglu. This is for 6th place in Pro-Am. No positions are insignificant in this paddock, ladies and gentlemen. And here we go, up through Gancho for the final time. Schaffner on the defensive, Cihadaroglu on the offensive. There aren't really any overtaking opportunities in a traditional sense between here and the flag, but that's not going to stop Cihadaroglu from trying. I think Schaffner has done just enough, though, to take 6th in Pro-Am and 9th overall. We've had Axel Jeffries across the line for 2nd in Pro-Am, Carol Bash across the line for 3rd, Valente and Muller rounded out the top 5, and Janine Schaffner does just about hold on to 6th in the Pro-Am classification. Shahada Roglu has to settle for 7th, and Omar Jackson, we didn't see that on screen, but Omar Jackson crossed the line first among the AM runners. So congratulations to the Kessel team, Omar Jackson and Charlie Hollings for that one. Here's the order in full. Heats and Pulcini claim the victory ahead of the Optimum Motorsport McLaren of Moss and Osborne, Giargoni and Van Berlo in 3rd. The first of the Pro-Ams home, the Theba Motorsport car of Jafali and Chris Dedulu, Zeman and Jeffries in 5th and 2nd in Pro-Am, Jedlinski and Bash in 6th, Leiber and Valente in 7th, Muller and Mettler in 8th place, Schaffner and Kranz in 9th, and rounding out the overall top 10, Chahada and Fumanelli in the 133 Kessel Racing car. The Jackson Hollings number 77 claims the 11th spot, and the Demise and Stanley car rounding out the 12 finishers. You see there plenty of cars that didn't see the finish, unfortunately, owing to various dramas, and there we go. Here's the overall top 3. Some dancing, some celebrations among the marshals as they watch the cars home, and it was a huge moment, I'm sure, for Benji Hites, who crossed the line in the Oregon team Lamborghini. It's not just a big moment for him, it's not just a big moment for Leonardo Pulcini. The entire Oregon team are going to party responsibly this evening. Of course, they have to be back tomorrow to do it all again, so only so much fluid can flow before they go racing again. But here's Pulcini giving the big well done to Benji Hites, justifiably so as well. Great job from both drivers. Of course, you see there the race time, 1 hour 46 minutes. That's a bit longer than usual owing to the red flag, but it was certainly an enduring event for everybody, and those who endured it best were definitely these two, Benji Hites and Leonardo Pulcini, and Pulcini is going to be absolutely delighted. It couldn't have gone any better for either man. And Nick Moss, I think, will ultimately be fairly happy with 2nd place. It was a good run home.
There you go, Flo.
There you go. I think Hites sending a message to someone back home, and Nick Moss there in 2nd place. As I said, I mean, it will be bittersweet because he was leading prior to the final lap. However, I think Moss and Osborne will be happy with that one. Glenn Van Berlo, helmet off, a fairly distant 3rd overall, ultimately, owing to the position he got the car in. Of course, that number 19 Oregon team car with Kevin Giardoni. Let's just listen in.
6/10-ish. Yeah, really strong. Like really, really good. We're going to make tracking out.
There you go. Thankfully, good language only there. Get well soon, Jerry. The sign there from one of the Oregon team members. So hopefully, Jerry getting well. I assume that's a member of the Oregon team outfit, and well wishes to them from Leonardo Pulcini and the crew. Here is the 3rd place car. As we were saying, Kevin Giardoni really did get bottled up in the early stages of that race. Where could they have been without all of that traffic with the AM and Pro-Am cars at the start of the race? Moss and Osborne, 2nd place. A good result for Nick and Joe on their pro debut as a duo. And Benji Hites taking the win, taking the flag after a great first stint from Leonardo Pulcini. Let's talk to the winners.
Benji Hites, winners of the first race of the 2022 International GTOpen. Leonardo, weekend that, well, a Saturday that ends better than the start of the weekend.
Yeah, for sure, better than expected. I didn't expect that really, but for me it was a very good stint. It was a bit difficult to keep up the pace with the Mercedes, with the McLaren and Ferrari in front, but I stayed there. The team did a mega job, and Benji take the position at the end with an amazing overtake, so very good job to him. I dedicate this victory to Mr. Jerry Canevisio that is watching us from home, and thanks to the team, did an amazing job, and Lamborghini Squadra Corsi.
And Benji, you every time you come to the GTOpen, you win. So.
Yeah, for me, I just want to say thank you to Leo, doing an amazing stint, keeping close to the McLaren. And then, thanks to Oregon, to have a mega car with pace to finish the job and win the race. And yeah, all the weekend we worked very hard in race pace because we were missing a little bit of speed. but it paid off. And yeah, so this win is for Chile, for my family, and for my girlfriend, Florence.
Well done, guys. Good start of the season. Bravo.
So the highlights from a dramatic race here at Estoril, the season opener to the International GT Open. It was a great start from Paul Cheney, who we ride on board with here, as well as Joe Osborne just ahead of him. And up ahead by a long way was David Fumanelli. Unfortunately, that lead wouldn't last long, not because of a mistake or an incident for him, but for this one. Lots of cars taken out in this crash. Frasinetti there end up in the middle of the road. Stephen Earle had nowhere to go, nor did Stanislav Jedlinski. Thankfully, all parties walking away from that one, and a couple of them driving away for good measure. We did get back underway after a lengthy red flag, and finally picking his way through the AM battle after a long and agonising wait was Kevin Giardoni, who would later hand over to Glenn Van Berlo. That, of course, opened the floodgates, and Jamie Stanley took the AM lead as he drove off ahead of Martin Conrad in the Landgraf Man filter car. Janine Schaffner took the wheel of the number 9, and once Laurent Demise took over from Jamie Stanley, unfortunately, a spin soon followed. That was Adam Christodoulou going past and into the Pro-Am lead that he would never give up. The 19 car picking through the order. Glenn Van Berlo had a brilliant final stint of the race here to end up third overall, and this was the move for the lead. Nick Moss had the inside available to Benji Hites, and Benji didn't need to be asked twice. Moss ending up in the gravel there, I think just trying to carry the speed around the corner. Janine Schaffner tried to carry speed around the corner too, and Dexter Muller had more of it. The checkered flag goes to Benji Hites though here today. Hites and Bolcini delighted with their day's work at Estoril. And now the podium. And you see there already up on there the the Van Berlo and Giardoni Oregon team duo. There's Nick Moss and Joe Osborne there to take second place. And Benjamin Hites taking the spoils along with Leonardo Polcini. Oregon team debut here today in GT Open, and a winning one at that. Now the national anthem.
Congratulations.
And I echo those congratulations. A great result from the Oregon team guys and Optimum Motorsport. Everyone who stands on the podium well and truly earned those trophies today in what was a lengthened race by courtesy of red flag. It was one that will have taken the wind out of a great many drivers. They have to do it tomorrow. They also have qualifying again tomorrow. The drivers who were in the second half of the race today will be back in for qualifying tomorrow, and that will be very entertaining indeed. Here comes the bubbly, though, the spraying of the champagne. Nick Moss getting involved in that. The Oregon team guys really giving it to each other as well. Celebrations afoot then in the GT Open paddock for this evening. Of course, they'll do it all again tomorrow. A packed day of racing here at Estoril tomorrow for International GT Open. And let's see how many of the cars from the incident earlier in the race today make it out for tomorrow. It'd be good to have as strong of a grid as we possibly can when we go racing tomorrow afternoon. Fingers firmly crossed for that one. Congratulations to Adam Christodoulou as well, the Pro-Am winner, along with teammate Rima Jafali, and to Omar Jackson and Charlie Hollings, of course, the AM winners. Lots and lots of trophies to be handed out, and here are the Pro-Am podium runners now. There's Carol Bash from the 777 crew, joined by Marcin Jedlinski on the third step of the podium. Second step, Axel Jeffries, who did a fabulous job in his stint to take second in class for himself and Roman Zemian. And then you have Adam Christodoulou there for FIBA Motorsport with Rima Jafali. Huge congratulations to both of them. What a way to start their debut season in GT Open. Congratulations to Rima as well, very new to GT3 racing. The coaching from Christodoulou clearly paying off, and they will be looking to carry that momentum on into race 2 tomorrow. And there you hear the call for the champagne, and I'm sure the drivers will answer. Rima, not so keen. She runs off at full speed. In fact, Adam Christodoulou only has one willing volunteer. I'm not sure about willing, but certainly a volunteer. Zemian giving it just as good as he gets it from Adam Christodoulou. Great stuff. Everyone else very careful to avoid the unwanted shower here today at Estoril. Applause from the SPS crew. The SPS crew, part of the mechanicking team for FIBA Motorsport here this weekend. So SPS looking after that car, and they'll be delighted to see those results. The AM podium comes next. And only the 2 finishers in AM. A lot of the AM field was wiped towards the end of the, or at the very beginning of the race, of course, with that drama on lap 1. The second place finishers you see there, Laurent Demise and Jamie Stanley of AF Corsa, and it's another Ferrari team, Kessel Racing on the top step, and it's going to be delight for Omar Jackson and Charlie Hollings, I'm sure. They look fairly chilled out at the moment, but I'm sure Omar's going to cause a big celebration down in the paddock later on. Congratulations to OJ and Charlie on their win. There's the smile I was hoping to see. Congratulations, guys, on the AM win there. Only 2 Ferraris taking the finish in AM. Lots of teams are going to be working hard overnight to get their AM class cars ready for racing again tomorrow. And there you go, the AM class all deciding to save their champagne. Oh, no, never mind. The AF Corsa guys decide to give a little bit of a spray. Congratulations to both of those teams for lasting the distance in the AM class, where so many other drivers struggled. There we go then. That concludes the day's racing for the International GT Open. We will be back again with lots more racing tomorrow. But until then, it's farewell from Estoril. Oh.